What's up? Welcome back to Wise Guy Wednesdays. Should I rock the glasses? It's funny. I used to always wear the glass, and I never do. It's a shame. Anyways, what'd you think, Bill? Glasses, no glasses?
I go no glasses.
No glasses? That's what my wife says. No. Welcome back to Wise Guy Wednesday. Me and my partner, Bill Crooks from Partners-N-Crime Podcast. I always have to plug them no matter what. In the very beginning of the show, I think that's plug, and you plug yourself too, Bill, where they can find you.
Partners in Crime, you see it up there, and Xtraordination, like you see in the live chat. It's Xtraordination, inspiring stories.
Nice.
What's up, Jerry, Dan, Nikki?
Nikki's there. What's up, Dan? What's up there, buddy? I'm dealing with this mechanic for my Jeep, man. I hate mechanics because they all seem scammy to me. You know what I'm saying? For example, I like need to do ball joints and and tie rods in my car. But I look up like what's the cost to do that in my car, and it's like $500. And then I take it to the mechanic, they're like, it's $900. I'm like, well, I think I'll get a second opinion. That's the thing about mechanics. I just don't trust them. Because you can Google
that one you like, you know.
Yeah, get one that you like, but they're all scary.
We just did intern's car. We did all that kind of stuff. They changed the oil. They did the brakes, whatever they did. They fixed the AC. He drives it a few days, calls me up. It seems like it's stuck in second gear or something. It won't shift. So it's back.
It's back in the shop?
Yeah. He had about a week of good car running, you know.
That sucks, dude, because that's a good car, man. Dude, my wife's got the same car. It's a freaking Champion, man. It's a good car, but
she's got a better year.
What years has he got?
I think it's a 2012.
Ah, yes, no.
He said 14, yeah, but I think it's 12.
The 2006 to 2010 were the ones you wanted. Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah,
there's quite a few of them left, and they're still pretty expensive. But you can find good deals on them. I saw a good deal on one the other day. It was only had 110,000 miles on it, and it was mint condition black one, and it was like $5,000. I was just thinking about it like a flip car. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. You could buy that car and put it right back out there for like $75 and sell it in a month, make $2,500. It was nothing. You know, easy way to make money. It's saying. So I want to say Hawk Spirit Weather. Well, that's a new handle I've never heard, but it's a good one. Must be Indian. Right? Right? I'm just saying, so we're talking about freedom. And just because the holiday, obviously, 4th of July. But I'm thinking about, like, the kids today, because I won't celebrate 4th of July because, or whoever, it doesn't mean it's his kids, because they think this is such a horrible country. I'm like, dude, when I think of freedom, and I'm not like a huge patriot. I'm like, hey, I mean, I am. I'm proud to be an American. I'm proud to be an American with the traditional American values, morals, ethics, whatever. But like what it's turning into, I'm not so proud. And I'm a dude who spent a bunch of years in prison, and the whole time, there's the one thing you're thinking the whole time is your freedom. And then when you say basically when you're in prison, when you get out someday, you're never going to take a day for granted or your freedom for granted or whatever. That's why, like, every year on 4th of July, I always try to give a moment of reverence, if you will, you know what I mean, for that day. Because I remember in prison. Ironically enough, when I was in prison, I saw fireworks. Out of the 13 years I was in prison, I saw fireworks displayed out of like 10 years. Like real fireworks, the big thing. Just from the angle in my cell, wherever I was watching fireworks. And some of them are like really big ones too. Like Detroit, downtown Detroit when I was in Ryan Road. And anyways.
So you're saying like one time you got to see them or all but once?
No, about 10 years of the 13 years, I got to see fireworks on the 4th of July.
That's interesting.
From my cell, wherever I was laying, I could see some were farther away than others, but I always saw some. But then I saw full-blown, like, fireworks displays going off. When I was in Macomb prison, they have a I think it's in Armada where the fireworks were. But anyways, from where I was to Armada was like, 6 miles or whatever it was, 8 miles. And that just happened to be letting them go right there. So I'm laying in my cell as it gets dark and all of a sudden, boom, 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 watching fireworks. I got to the point where I was like every year I'd see them. I'm expecting to see them. I remember I was in the hole one year and didn't see them. And a couple other years, but whatever case that freedom. What do you think, Bill? Let me just say, do you believe in freedom? And do you believe we are now living in freedom?
Well, let me tell you, the fact that they were able to take your freedom away
tells you a lot.
Makes me feel like it's an illusion, Yeah, you're free as long as you do what they say.
Exactly.
But is anybody free by that terms? You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah.
You got to think like, okay, so if we're not the free country, who is?
Right. Yeah, we're supposed to be the freest country in the world, and yet, man, you like Andrew Tate, for example. America made him public enemy #1 because he was making men become men. And think about how scary that is. You know what I'm saying? Where a guy just says, hey, man, I'm just getting guys to freaking stand up, be their best, be alpha, be males, act like men, whatever. The government saw that and seen that as a risk or threat to them. And so that's what they fake locked him up. And
that's assuming he didn't do what he's charged of. We don't know for sure, but
I don't think he did it. They held him for 6. They held him for 6 months with no evidence, and then they finally charge him with some. I think any government like that, especially if America's behind it, can easily fabricate evidence against somebody.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I'm saying? If they don't want him around, they want him gone. It's like that. And they're doing it to Donald Trump. They'll figure it out and they'll get you. And that's how all of that works in politics. They're all just double crossing and scheming each other. Like, who can you trust? But anyways, so you feel free.
Like you said, you own your land, right? So you're you're a landowner unless you don't pay your taxes every single year, and then you're not a landowner anymore. But
nope, you're in jail.
Yeah, but there is a certain amount of freedom in that you're not born into a social class that you can't get out of.
Yeah.
Okay, so there's freedom there, and you're free to choose the job you want for the most part. You have to earn it, but nobody says, no, man, sorry, Bill, you're born into a family of shoemakers. You're going to be a shoemaker. You know what I mean? And not that I feel like, so you could say the same for Mexico, France. You're not born into a caste system per se, but I feel like we've got the Bill of Rights. We've got a lot of things going for us that most countries don't. So
I agree. I mean, we live in the best. I believe we live in the. But what do you think about though? What do you say to the people who don't do nothing and just say my way out of paying taxes and not having to deal with the government? Just do nothing and let them pay me. Welfare or my back, I can't move, I can't hurt my back, I can't work, pay me. And there's a lot of that going on in the world. So I mean, what about them, man?
I would say that you're a slave. You have a lower quality of life than most people, and you're a sucker. You know what I mean? Yeah. They're handing you the scraps. You're living like a dog, and they've convinced you that you got it made. I mean, to each his own. But in my opinion, that's that's being the worst kind of slave there is. Worse than going to work.
Oh, it's way worse. It's the worst thing ever. It's just but they convince millions of people to do that, and then pay them, incentivize them to do that by giving them just enough to keep them doing nothing. Because if they even got a taste of a little bit more from hard work, they'd be gone and they'd be jumping all over. They would go.
Well, I think if people could pursue something that actually fulfilled them instead of just showing up at the stamping plant every day.
Oh yeah. But see, here's the thing: people need to make their secondary purpose more important than that. Let's say you love for example, trout fishing like me, and you want to go trout fishing all the time,
Mm-hmm.
whatever, it doesn't matter what job you do. You just do your job hard, earn your money, and then when you're done, after the day or the end of the week or whenever, you go trout fishing if that's what you can afford. But at least you'll have a job doing something. Where if you're not doing nothing, collecting welfare or SSI or whatever, you're literally doing nothing ever. And you're stuck in a basement trolling freaking mom's Wi-Fi, or whatever it is. There's no life to that. It's no.
Right, or if you're doing that and you're side hustling drugs and stuff like that, your freedom is right on the edge. They're going to lock you in the can before too long.
Yeah. Take away your stuff. But probably these days, the government will allow you to get welfare to pay for your lawyer and to get you out of going to jail for. You get it if you're the person's on welfare, he can use that welfare money to pay for a lawyer to get him out of the freaking trouble. You get it? Anyways, I hate to be someone like that, and it's sad that they've tricked so much of the world into that, thinking like that. It's a shame. But a lot of people, man, I don't get it. I don't see I was on welfare when I was a kid. My mother was sick, and she needed it. She couldn't work. She was in a mental case. So, but I've lived that life, and it's not a good life. And you know what I'm saying? It's like you said, it's minimalist. You got, just nothing really. But your food and shelters is paid for. But some people just, if they, like you said, if they find even a slightest side hustle, like slaying a few bags of weed or something like that, they can live decent. So millions of people choose not to. I don't understand why they don't incentivize people to work. If I was running the government, I was the president, and I would, or controlled the House, whatever. I'd pass bills that say, listen, it's a like person to person basis. Obviously, it's somebody sick, truly injured or hurt or old, whatever it is,
right. The reason that the safety net existed in the first place.
Exactly, for the safety net. And now, if somebody just got laid off work, then let's say you have a year. Let's say a year. You should be able to find it, but just in case, you have up to 1 year. At the end of the year, if you don't have a job, then what we will do is find you a job or put you through school, one or the other, or some kind of training. And so as long as you're still getting the training and getting good grades, you get, we'll continue paying for it. Then when you graduate and you have this degree or this whatever you got, now we'll find you a job to work, and boom. So hopefully you'll be working within a year or two, whatever. So you're going to learn how to work, and then boom, you pay your own crap. If they did that, then you eliminate probably 20 million people. You know how much money that is? 20 million times, whatever it is, $28,000 a year in resources. Trillions of dollars.
You think we'd start to pay back the debt, but what we'd really do is spend even more.
Oh, we spend even more. That's a party.
We give that money to some third world country that wants to fight a war against China.
Yeah, exactly. We'll fund the whole thing. That's the thing. That more money is just more money for them to steal. They're never going to go like, oh, we're going to pay off this deficit. In fact, until recently, I didn't even realize how stupid the deficit is. The deficit is really just a reason to just keep, for people in our generations who are older, to steal money and just like let you worry about it later. Like, we all know it ain't coming. It's never going to get there. It's never going to come back. It's just a fantasy land. So it just goes further into the future and deeper in the pocket. So at some point, money's got to be worth nothing. That's the scary part. A lot of people are hedging on that. That's what we're going to have Jantzen on in a little while. Dennis Jantzen. He's going to tell us about. Yeah, he should be. They have let him talk about the totalitarian two-step. His book.
Yeah, I know. I'm trying to come up with arguments against him. I'm sitting here making his case already.
Right. Are you going to try to argue against him?
Well, someone's got to.
You know his book, but I will argue him in regards to like the faith wise. I'm not the most eloquent and biblical, but I'm pretty strong in faith, and I will certainly fight for the right of the Bible and Jesus best I can. But I don't know with his book. And again, someone like me, I'm not financially sound. I'm not a wizard with money or politics. Not like that guy. Is he holding a machine gun?
Yeah.
I like it. I like it. It'd be a cool tattoo right there. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, he looks
Metaphor.
good.
Be a
So
good
based
tattoo
on
to have.
the independence of the country, we drove England out for taxation without representation. We wanted to be our own sovereign nation. Do we feel self-represented now?
No, I don't. I don't. Not at all. But with me, I just had dinner with this couple, this nice couple, and I mean, we were talking about that, and like the government doesn't represent me, so people like them and us need to all stick together. You gotta stick with your tribe because of me, man. I'm not saying I'm a doomsday end times person, but I'm like, there's a high probability something bad, really bad, could happen to us within the next couple of years. You know what I'm saying? Certainly in the next 5, but could happen any time. So I'm just like, good to have some friends in the area who are like minded around, which would be awesome to have you up here. That'd be awesome if you lived up here, man. I would like, you could put a house right on my property.
Yeah, we'd have a better plan for sure.
Yeah, exactly. Because right now, if something goes down,
and even it doesn't have to go down that bad, like the Great Depression. You know what I mean? I bet a prepper would have gone a long way back then. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah, hell yeah.
Instead of jumping out to 4th floor of your building.
If stuff gets bad, you have a motorhome. You
lost all your paper stock.
You right. Jumping out of Wall Street, just jump in your motorhome if something bad looks to be happening and get here. It's way safer. I'm just saying. Grab your guns, load up, put Josh on the back door, and just drive up 75 till you're here. Then you'll be safe. This where I live is a very safe environment to live if something bad happens. I think between the type of people that there are, even though some people are Democrats, some people are Republicans, I would just say in emergency, I think everybody up here would stick together. What the hell's that sound? Birds. Birds outside my window. They're making the craziest squeak. I have the weirdest bird symphony around this house. It's crazy. I'm sitting there typing, got the window open, and there's a family of crows, right? Which almost never see a family of crows. And my wife doesn't ask her nothing. She hears it. She don't say nothing. Eventually, she said something.
It's called a murder of crows, right?
Is it? I don't know. A whole bunch of baby crows?
Yeah, if you have a bunch of crows together, it's a murder of crows.
I didn't know that. That's crazy. But so, like, they're babies. I started hearing them a couple of weeks ago. And I'm like, that's freaking and I finally say to my wife, you know what that is? She's like, no. I'm like, what bird is it? I said, crows. I said, there's a family of them on our property. They just must have been born right on my property, whatever. So they're always at the tops of the trees, and like right on my house. And you can hear them. They make the craziest noise, just crazy. And I'm like, and then you hear these other birds kicking, and these other birds. And they're right by the window, so they're right outside the window. Anyway, it's cool. I think it's cool, and I'm working, sitting there typing, and I'm hearing all these birds. And then if I look outside, I'll see deer and turkeys or God knows what else out there. I got a good video of me running up on a skunk the other day. It was a cool-looking skunk, a really cool-looking skunk. There's a breed of skunk that it's all white on top or almost all white on top, and then the black on the bottom. I've only seen 2.
Like somebody dipped it halfway in ink?
Yeah, and exactly. Either dipped it in black or flipped it and dipped it in white. But this one it was kind of like more of a the white was not super clean. It was almost off-white. But the last one I saw, and I walked right up to too, was in my backyard before in Rogers City, and it was like perfect. It was white on top and like pristine white on top, and it was like really even. This one was like white. It was kind of almost block, like molted. Anyways, I walked up to it. I got within 10 feet of it, and Maria's like, "Oh my God, he's gonna spray you!" I'm like, "I'm not gonna spray me, man." I walked right up to it, like 10 feet. I was gonna get closer. I know when he feels threatened, because if he feels threatened, then I'll back the F up. If he starts acting like he's threatened, but he wasn't. He just kind of looked at me and then like trotted off like any little animal would do. But he didn't freak out. If he would have stopped, stuck his tail up, I'd been, whoa, I'm out here, dude. Sorry, but I knew he wouldn't. But that's a rare skunk that I saw. That's a really rare little animal. Yeah, I know. It's cool. I've only seen 2 of them, man. Maria was looking out the window. And I'm like, what are you looking at? Is that a badger out there? I'm like, what? I'm looking and I see it. She gets the binoculars, because it was out right by our mailbox where we put the trash, and I had put the trash out, which must have been last Wednesday because it was Wednesday, just like this. And so I started. It did look like a badger from a distance, but I don't know what this has to do with being free. But I know one thing: if you're looking out the window and free to think there's a badger on your property, you're doing all right. I'm just saying you're free enough. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
you're free. Doesn't mean we're free. Doesn't mean we're free at all. Because like Bill said, don't pay your taxes, and there goes your home. So you don't own a home.
It's interesting though, because when I was younger, I would have said, "Yeah, we're totally free."
Totally free.
Yeah.
You could go drink, get high, do some drugs or whatever. You're not free. You're not free the instant you get pulled over. And listen, one of the biggest scam shakedowns in this nation to me is how you got to pay every year on your birthday for new tags or whatever. So it's like based on your car and the value of it or whatever it is. And so it's a couple $100 minimum every year. So it's a total scam. They just said, how can we get more money? How can we steal more money from people? And said, bang, we'll make them pay every year on their birthday, $200, $300, whatever it is. So you got the 8 million people doing it. Bang, you just raised freaking $75 million a year in one shot, boom, or whatever it is. And I was like, man, what a scam racket that is. To buy a little sticker.
To a degree, but also the plates and stuff is a good system for law enforcement and things like that.
No, I'm not saying that. I'm just saying, I one-time fee maybe, but every year, paying the whole thing every year, it seems like a mob shakedown to me. That's what
was a shakedown when I first moved to Tampa. They had what's called an impact fee, and just because I drove my Indiana car to Tampa, I had to pay like $200 because I introduced a new vehicle into the state.
Shakedown, bro.
It was a shakedown. 10 years later, I think they declared it unconstitutional and they had to refund all that money.
Really? Oh, that's crazy.
Dude. They probably kept all that money with interest and then paid it back.
Dude, I went in to buy a plate. I was Dan, the trailer. I bought a trailer from Dan. Real nice trailer, man. Big black one. I think it was 16 foot. Nice, real nice to pull all our stuff to the UP and then to Missouri. And I went in there to buy a plate, and the girl, I said, it's for the trailer, put it in my name. And the girl who likes me, she's not, I know her. I've been in there for the last 3 years all the time. It's a little tiny town. And she puts the plate on the thing, and she says it's going to be like $255 or whatever. And I go, yeah, seriously though, how much? Seriously though, how much is it? She says $250. I go, how in the mother F is it $255 for a trailer plate? She goes, oh, it's a lifetime. It's a lifetime. I'm like, that's if I keep this trailer for a lifetime, which I don't plan to do. I'm going to sell it in 6 months. So whatever. I'm like,
you just can't transfer the plate, right? So you're thinking it's going to be like $35, right?
Yeah, 35 could live with.
That's what I was thinking. I was like, about $35.
Yeah, and then they tell you $255. I was like, yeah, seriously though.
For your $1.50 plate. It was probably made in prison for 26 cents.
It wasn't exactly. It wasn't. The plate cost freaking a nickel. They buy them. They make them in bulk. It's cheap freaking aluminum. I mean, stamp it out, made into prison, like you said. So they're just raping the people. Whatever they can do to shake you down. The government operates like a mob family. Really, that's basically what it does. And we all got to conform, because let's say I don't do that. Let's say I don't put my plate. F them. I'm not paying them my levers. Believe me, I've been down that route. Well, I know exactly. 29 times I've been arrested for driving unsuspended. I think it's 19 in St. Clair Shores and 10 together in the other one. Can't remember, but close to that.
I had a few of those.
And most of, I'm sure you do. Most of them were where I didn't pay the ticket, or didn't pay redo my tags, because I said F them, I'm not paying them. Then I got pulled over, and now let's see how free you are now, kid. Pulled over with expired plates. No, driving unsuspended warrant. Blah 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 blah. Next thing you know, you're in cuffs, impounding your car. It's a $5,000 bond to get out. You got to go to court. Let's say you don't go to court. You skip court. Boom. Now the warrant doubles. You get caught eventually. You got to bond out. And that's the cycle that happens with a lot of people like me when I was a kid. It's a lot of guys went in that same cycle. You too?
Yeah. Well, one of my worst in the free country, I was at a Cajun place, like a Cajun restaurant that's like literally a block from my house, because I lived in downtown St. Pete, like in the city.
Right.
I pull out. I must got halfway out, and I flip on the lights because it's getting dark, right? Turn the corner, boo! I get pulled over, right? And I still remember this cop's name. It was Officer Benniger. What a douche, right? So he pulls me over, and he's like, where are you going? I say, I live right there. That's my house, right there. I go, I was just there. I'm coming here. And he said, you drinking over there? I was like, very, very little, I just had dinner, which
Very
is
little.
true. So he goes, whoa. I was like, why'd you pull me over? He goes, well, you didn't have your lights on. I said, I put the lights on as soon as I pulled out into the thing, man. It was like, my car wasn't even halfway out of the lot when I turned those lights on. He goes, well, I saw you pull out with your lights off. So, pull over. And he's like, you might even take a breathalyzer, So I'm like, I'll take your breathalyzer. There's no way I'm going to flunk the breathalyzer, right? So I take it and I pass, right? So then he brings another cop and they want to search for
weapons. I hate that.
They want to search for weapons, right? There's no weapons in the car. So I'm like, yeah, search for weapons, right? So they're doing it and they search me. And so, but I'm like, okay, this is a shakedown, but eventually I'm going to let go, because I don't have anything, right? Yeah. Then they bring a dog and the dog is looking for drugs.
I've been there.
That's a little shaky, but I had just completely gutted my car. I had torn the carpets out, everything. I had to go. I've
had them planted on me. At that phase, I've had them plant the drugs, weed in there, and then go, oh, look what we got. You're under arrest, bang. And I was like, what the
Yeah, that hadn't occurred to me, but I was like, well, I know I just gutted this car. So I remember seeing this dog's ass in the back of my window. Like, he's all over the thing. I'm like, are you freaking kidding me? And he's like, what happened to your carpet? I'm like, the carpet's gone, man. There's nothing in my car. I'm telling you, you couldn't have picked a cleaner car, right?
Right.
So when it's finally said and done, they're like, okay, I was there like 40 minutes, right? He writes me a ticket for the freaking lights. What's like?
What a douchebag, man.
Thank you very much, Dick.
Did you fight it?
No, I just paid it.
Oh. Yeah, I mean, some cops just can't help themselves. Douchebag. I had one cop pull me over. I told this story, how I keistered the freaking ounce of heroin. Did I tell you that one?
I don't know.
Oh, it's a long story, but basically, I went to drop off and sell an ounce of heroin, but the dude I went to sell it to, he left. He went to Belle Isle with his kids to go swimming or something. So I was headed back, and I freaking got stopped by the cops. And I had a suspended license for not paying a freaking seatbelt ticket. I had got a $110 ticket. I gave them $100 and forgot to send the $10 in the mail. There was a $10. When I went to I tried to beat the stupid seatbelt ticket because, like you, when I was pulling out of the parking lot, I wasn't even out of the parking lot yet when I was putting my seatbelt on.
Right.
Guy pulls me over. There's a knife on the dash. He freaks out, pulls his gun. What are you doing with the knife? I said, dude, it's a freaking a knife I was using to eat a steak the other day. It's something funny, right? I mean, it's just it's like a steak knife. You know what I'm saying? From the kitchen. Anyways, I end up getting arrested, and they get out. They impound my car, the whole nine, all that, and then they say I gotta pay $110. So I pay $100. Forget about it. 4 months later, I'm driving down the road with an ounce of heroin, and the only thing that saved me, believe it or not, was my kicker. Because I had this big giant speaker in the back behind me. I was in a Suzuki Grand Catero, a Suzuki sidekick. It was black. It was pretty cool. And with a big kicker on it. And so when the cop got behind me, I freaking basically shoved it up my ass. It's just a horrible thing, And I didn't go. I did get arrested. They charged me $5,000 bond for driving unsuspended. My girlfriend came and got me. The cops can set your bond anywhere between $500 and $5,000. But if you got a bunch of them, they usually just hit you with the $5,000. And it was like a Labor Day weekend or Memorial Day weekend, something like that. But I didn't get my car out of impound until like the following 2 days. Like
you got arrested with the heroin on you?
Yep, and walked out with it still. And when I was in the cell, when I got back to the jail, they uncuffed me. And guy says, "All right, turn around. I got to frisk you again." And I go, "Really, dude? I'm wearing basketball shorts with no underwear on." I said, "The dude already frisked me, and the dog already freaking sniffed me." I said, "Now I'm in the back of the jail, and this got some basketball shorts on, no shoes, no shirt, nothing." I go, "But I don't even have underwear on. The frick am I gonna hide anything?" And he says, "All right, go in the cell." Well, when I go in the cell, he doesn't say, "Give me your cell phone." It's a Nextel. This is the back when Nextels are.
Yeah.
So I walk in there, I kind of hide it, and they walk off. I'm like, chirp, chirp. I'm like, what's up, man? Who's coming to get me? I basically started calling like different people to get me. My girlfriend's already coming, so I already called her and said, go get the money. She got there, it was $1. True story. She got there, it was $1 short. And that douchebag captain made her leave and go get the dollar. So she just counted out the money, came up, it was $1 short. Because what happened is, about an hour later, I started yelling, yo, and telling the cops to come back. What the F is happening? Why am I not out? My girl freaking left, half an hour to go to come up here. And they go, oh, she was here. She was $1, little short girl. I said, yeah, she was here. She was $1 short. She had to go get it. So now I know she's driving all the way back across town to her work or her friend or somebody to get some money, $1, and come back and bomb me out. And so the same thing happened to me another time when I got arrested when I was on my snowmobile, jet ski, coming back from Gull Island or Strawberry Island. Freaking sheriff boat stops me and they arrest me, impound. I've had like horrible luck, I guess, in life, man. I've been pulled over.
I did when I was young, but you know what I looked like back then. Now, I swear, I could have a dead body in the back seat.
Oh, right?
You crazy old man, get out of here.
Right. I haven't been pulled over since I've been home from prison. 7 years. I haven't been stopped. It's great. I did get a ticket on my four-wheel. I got a fishing ticket for expired fishing license and a expired or reach sticker on my four-wheeler. But it's my own fault. I was like 4 days past and I forgot about you had to renew it. But anyways, yeah, back in the day, man, and I was always trying to be good. Like I'd drive slow, act right, do everything, and I'd still get stopped, pulled over, harassed. I was coming back from jet skiing from this Gull Island, or there's 2 islands. There's a whole bunch of islands, but there's Gull Island, which I'd gone to, and then up the river like 5 miles to this girl, Rebecca, had a cabin. It was just cool. This little party on this river, Detroit River, or excuse me, St. Clair River. And I ended up swimming across the river. Somebody bet me I couldn't do it in 15 minutes, so I swam across the river, and I had this dog. Her dog followed me. And it's the dog that had been running around with a frog in its mouth, but a poisonous frog. And anyways, the frog made it sick. So I washed its mouth out with water and like brought him back to life. It took like an hour. And then after that, the dog wouldn't leave me alone. So when somebody bet me I couldn't swim across this river, I said, yeah, bet me. I'm $50. I'll get across this within 15 minutes. And it was like, I don't know, eighth a mile at least across. And he's like, yeah, I can't do it. I said, all right, bet. Boom. And I ran over there and dove in, and the dog came with me, swam with me the whole way. And I told a friend to come with me, too, on my jet ski because I didn't want to drown. And
I was going to say, how do you lose the bet? You drown?
You just don't make it across in 15 minutes was the bet.
He's not going to be able to pay you, bro, if he drowns.
Right. I had a friend come with me. I was like, just stay near me in case I choke or something. God, you don't want to be out in the middle of the river and drown. Oh, yeah, so he's like, right. So they followed me. And I just freaking paddled across. I'm a good swimmer, and I got there in 13 minutes. So I won $50. But then I came home that night. When I left, it's funny because the girl Rebecca having the party looks at me and goes, "You're going to end up going to jail." And I said, well, why? She's like, you don't have a life preserver on. You're just a life preserver. You have to have a life preserver on. This is how dumb I am, bro. This is how dumb I am. I'm crossing the middle of the mother effing lake on a jet ski, at dusk with no life preserver. And when you're crossing, there's like a 10, 12 mile, like cut you're going through. But when you're out there 5, 6 miles in, you can't see shore on any sides. And it's out in the middle of it. And the waves are going boom, 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 boom. Anyways, it's just stupid. I crashed one time and literally knocked myself unconscious. Woke up in the water, like choking and underwater. On that same jet ski, but going the other way, I hit a big roller out, and I shot up and came nosedive, and another roller just boom smashed over me and freaking knocked me out. And so I woke up seeing stars and underwater. Bro, I was like, what the frick?
No life jacket there.
No life jacket. And the scary part was when I came up after choking, I'm looking around. There's all these big ass waves, and I can't see my jet ski anywhere. I don't see it. So now I'm treading water because it's probably 10, 11 feet deep there. The whole lake is like 10, 12 feet deep. And I'm looking for my jet ski. I don't see it. And then I see this boat coming towards me, this big freaking, like a cabin cruiser. And it's coming towards me in my direction. So I start waving it like this, yo, 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 yo. And they come over and pull up. It's a couple dudes and a hot chick in a blue bikini. And I said, I think I sank my jet ski. And they said, nah, it's over there. And they point over there, and it was like 50 yards away. I said, will you take me to it? And they're like, yeah. Then they start going, bro, it was crazy. We saw you hit that wave. You were like 15 feet in the air, and then you just vanished. And then your jet ski popped up over there, and then we saw your head bobbing over there. And I when I hit that first big wave, I'm not joking, I was probably 12, 15 feet in the air. And then came down, nosedived right into the water, and just a huge wall of water just smashed.
Man, you're lucky they spotted you.
Oh, yeah, I know. Totally.
Doesn't the jet ski usually do a big circle?
It was, but I didn't have, you have a toggle attached, so when you fall off, it shuts off. I didn't have that on. It wasn't even wearing a life preserver. So it should keep going in a circle, but it still popped up over there and was leaving me. You know what I'm saying? I think I could have swam to shore, though. Where I was probably 3 or 4 miles from shore. Maybe probably 4 miles. I think I could swim 4 miles, but it would have been exhausting. Well, I think I can. Not saying I could, you know what I'm saying? At the time, I was in pretty good shape. I mean, I was a young guy. I think I was pretty confident right away. I'm like, all right, well, I got to swim to shore. I think I could do it. But you never know. You might think you can do it, and then you get 2 freaking miles, and you're like, hell no, it's over. And you start choking on water and go down. Listen, we got Jantzen here, though. We're gonna ask Jantzen what is. I want his definition of freedom, and I think his definition of freedom is going to be where I'm living now. My only response to that is, well, I'll tell him my response to that is cartel bad guys. That scares me. But he probably got a freaking big ass, arsenal where he is. So
is he logged in yet?
Huh?
Is Jantzen logged in?
Yeah, I got him here now. I can see him.
All right, I'll give him the.
What's up, buddy?
What's up, buddy?
My amigos.
How are you, man? Is this I like the view.
I'm the luckiest person in the world.
Freedom. That's what we were talking about on this show. Tell us about freedom.
Well, my definition of freedom is anarchy, which in Latin means no ruler. So when we are born, we are not granted freedom from the government. And that's important to understand.
Let them tell it, though. Let them tell it. We ain't got no freedom. The government's going to be like, if you want to live, you got to pay.
Well, I've asked this question to you guys before, but it's kind of like this. What freedoms do you have? Everything is regulated in the United States. Yeah. I've asked the question, can you name any tangible asset that is not regulated? And everything. I've been thinking about it for 3 years, and I can't come up with anything. Oh. And, in Mexico, where I live, in rural Mexico, it's quite a bit different. I don't report to the government. I don't register my vehicles. And I don't have any problems.
That's the way it should be.
Is that the norm, though, in Mexico? They don't register their vehicles? That's not normal, is it? Or you just don't do it?
In the municipalities, people register their vehicles for many reasons, legalities when you purchase a car and things like that. But
if you're driving around Cancun, your car has to be registered, right?
That's right. For expats like myself, it's a little bit different. They don't allow you to register your vehicle until you become permanent citizen, is my understanding. I could be wrong on that.
If you're driving a freaking, what kind of car do you drive? I mean, because I imagine cars, just like a 10-year-old Jeep there in good shape would be like a nice car.
Yes, I have a Nissan Xterra.
Oh, those are nice. Yeah.
Yes, I drove it to Belize, United States, and Mexico.
What color is it?
It's a blue.
I like those. They're nice.
It's a nice vehicle because we were traveling with my 2 hound dogs, and then the back of it had storage for our personal belongings that were important to us.
Well, I imagine, like I said, in Mexico, that's a pretty freaking nice car, like a pretty freaking attention-grabbing ride in a lot of the parts of Mexico.
No, I was just watching a documentary on Mexico City, and I'm quite a ways from Mexico City, but Mexico City is a population of over 25 million people with skyscrapers.
Very modern, money, tons of money.
Yeah, Tesla. You know, where I live, I see a lot of F-150s, the Toyotas, the Jeeps. So, I mean,
that's what I see where I live.
Back when I was living in the United States, I think the average vehicle was at least 12 years old on the U.S. roads.
It's newer now. They found incentives to get people to buy newer cars.
Yeah, where I'm at, it's mostly newer cars. Yeah,
everybody's got new cars because they finance them long term. But they get everybody. I don't. My car's paid for. Both of our cars are paid for. And my dad's like, "Why don't you buy a new car?" I'm like, "Here's how much money I saved in the last 3 years alone from not buying a new car." And I tell him that number. He's like, "Oh, sounds like you're onto a plan." I said, "Yeah, exactly that." Anyway,
yes. So I would consider myself an anarchist, which means no ruler. And that's what I seek. I don't want to be told what I can and cannot do.
Dude, I'm with you on that, bro.
I am an adult.
So, Bill,
now, if we look at government and we break it down, what is government good for that we're happy with? The schools?
I mean, I could, if you want me to.
No, maybe the roads, the highway system.
The infrastructure is crumbling. The education system.
We still have power grids. We still have highways. I mean,
but you know what? But that's the worst. Even though we have what we have and we're grateful for it, you're right though. They put the minimalist effort into, with their no matter all the money, just like with the infrastructure and the roads. They're all shit, but we go, there's more money, billions and billions and billions. Right. Oh my, and it's all going in pockets. It's not.
Yeah, I won't be thanking them for the school system anytime soon.
The school system is disgusting. It's just it's basically a programming base where they just teach kids to be woke and hate each other, hate themselves, and learn this perverse woke freaking pervert crap. That's what schools do. I don't want to pay schools freaking for that. I mean, like at least you go to. You have your kids in private school. That's what you got to do.
My kids go to private school, yeah.
Yeah, I'm like, dude, not put my kids through that. I hope that changes. Perverts.
Yeah, I don't know what else to say. I mean, what's government in the United States good for? Military? That's looking shaky.
Right, but what's the government in Mexico good for besides being in bed with cartels and criminal elements?
Well, it makes you free, though.
You could say the cartels are in bed with the U.S. government, especially on the drug trade.
That's true, but I don't see how it's better where you're at, except for the palm trees and stuff.
Well, I think it is because I don't have the government involved in my life as much. And that is a comfortability. I mean, when I get on my scooter, my wife and I have a couple scooters and we go riding into the different cities to go swimming or something like that. I don't worry about a police officer pulling me over because my scooter's not registered.
Yeah.
In the United States,
but I think you're in the same boat we are, where we can go, I can do this, I can do that. Your freedom's an illusion. And I think it is in Mexico too, because if the cartel rolls into your property, nobody's going to help you. That's my
true. That's true.
So they're not there today, so you're free. But
you're good for now.
It could all disappear like that.
Yeah.
Or they kidnap you and they tell your wife to go get that Singapore gold.
Right.
Well,
that's what they do.
We live in the Yucatan is considered very safe. Merida, and I've said this in the past, is a city of about 900,000, and it's considered one of the safest countries cities in North America.
Well, Michigan's safe, but if you go by Detroit, I mean, we're gonna have some.
Right.
Just saying.
Plus, I follow this all the time. The cartels are moving your way, and bodies are starting to turn up in your neck of the woods.
He does report on that every week. We do True Crime Corner, Sleepy.
The places that were safe are quickly becoming unsafe.
Scary, man.
What are the cartel people targeting? Are they targeting the drugs? I mean, I'm not involved with any of that.
Well, what they do is they are in many things. But one of the things they do is grab people that they think have some affluence, and they throw them in a pit, and then you have to go come up with some kind of money and then get them out, and it just keeps happening. That's what they do. And if the FBI gets involved, all they're going to do is help you make the payoff. That's the extent of their involvement.
Yeah, I mean, and they don't care about hurting you. They don't. I mean, the cartels are ruthless.
Oh man, they would be gone for 2 months and lose like 80 pounds.
They'll kill you just as easy as even like, you make us have a hard time. Just kill them. We'll get someone else. Let's go. That's the kind of psychos they are. But so that would make me scared to live in Mexico. And but to each his own. If you feel safe and that you don't feel threatened like that, you may live your whole life there perfectly safe and never have to worry about it. But I don't know. Would be my fear for living there. And I think I would rather live here and throw my money away to the government and get bent by the government than having to worry about that being slaughtered for ransom or whatever. And I can't take that type of heat, man. It's too hot for me.
I love that heat. But so, do you have to pay any taxes, anything like that?
Well, we pay taxes on what we purchase when we go to the major cities. It's value added tax. Where I live in Yaxcaba, Mexico, they don't believe in property taxes. They tried to collect them, but the Mayan indigenous people said no. Yeah, so we've been here 2 years. I've never paid any property taxes. I've invested about $400,000 in the local community, and I've hired a lot of people. And I am friends with the 5-term president of Yaxcaba. And in fact, I bought my ranch from him, and I'm very happy about it.
Your branch?
His ranch.
My ranch.
Oh,
yeah,
ranch.
My ranch from the president of Yaxcaba, which Yaxcaba is the 4th largest, I guess you could call them, county in the Yucatan.
Yeah.
So things have been great for me in Mexico. My wife loves it here. She does most of the ranch livestock chores, and I tend to more of the mechanical and the gardening aspect. But I'll tell you guys, I'm the happiest I've ever been in my life.
That's awesome, dude. I mean,
yeah, and
each his own.
I feel very healthy here. I've lost quite a bit of weight. I weigh less than I did in high school.
You look healthy.
Thank you.
Yeah, it sounds healthy. I mean, that's good. I am 2 things just with regard to that and you. Like it would take big brass balls to freaking move down to Mexico and do what you're doing. So God, I mean, dude, kudos to that.
And to do it the way he did it.
Yeah, kudos to you for doing that. That's badass. But God forbid, I'm just saying, pray God takes care of you and your family. You never have to worry, and you'll be good. I like the sense of freedom that you get from living down there in Mexico, and your dollar goes so far. I mean, like working, if you just make $40,000 a year working from home online, it's the equivalent of making like $140,000 in the United States or something, and living here is normal, or probably 100. It's probably equivalent to $100,000. And is that about the trade?
You receive about 6 times the labor. The materials cost the same. For example, if you're going to buy a cell phone or a computer, that's pretty much an international commodity. So there's no bargains on that. But the labor is where you save.
Yeah.
Where your labor, let me explain that a little bit. where your labor in the United States buys, 30 times. I calculated it. Yeah. It was about 36 times. I mean, depending on your wage rate. So Mexico's a bargain. My wife and I are living here for about $8,000 a year.
That's crazy.
That's crazy. And I that's after I built the 5 houses. We're considering moving into another house on the ranch just to kind of mix things up a little bit. They're all brand new.
Oh, dude, what? I mean, that's a lot of work, but maybe it's not. Maybe it's be fun. Go for it. Are you going to rent those out?
Well, it's very difficult to get tourists to leave Canada and Cancun and Merida. So we're about 4.5 hours from Cancun. So people fly into Cancun. There's a lot of tourist traps, you could say, near Cancun, such as Tulum or different cenotes, swimming, beaches. For them to go where I'm at, rural, it's a hike. And they do have a very good bus system in Mexico.
Yeah.
But it's just hard to get people to kind of get out of the Disney traps, Disney World traps, to come do things in the environment like swimming in an underground cave.
Yeah. You said undergrave. Like it was a Freudian slip.
Yeah, undergrave cave. I'm just saying people in general these days, they're so caught up on virtual reality that doing something like that it's just too much. They'd rather just hold the phone and zone out. You know what I'm saying?
Well, but I go on every Friday and tell you why Mexico's a horrible, dangerous place.
Yes, exactly. Every Friday.
They just kidnapped like 16 cops last week. Remember?
Yeah. And then
I don't think those guys have turned up. Usually they turn up chopped up in a ditch.
Mm-hmm. The week before, we had a freaking unmanned grave with like 10 bodies off the side of a cliff. They chopped up and threw it on this thing.
10 bodies in like 42 bags. It was a call center. They were scamming people, like selling timeshares, So like say you're selling a timeshare. Okay, here's what the cartel's doing. They're getting these call center people to call the people and say, hey, we got a buyer for your timeshare, right? And they're like, oh, good, because, they've got this $70,000 timeshare or something they've been dying to get rid of. And they're like, oh, Mexican government says you still owe $2,500 on that. And they're just like, they're desperate to sell. And they're like, fine. Those douches are lying, but I don't care. I'll pay the $2,500. And they're like, okay, we'll just add that and blah, blah, blah. So this says you're going to settle that. And next thing you know, they never sold their timeshare. All they did was pay taxes that didn't really exist to cartel people. And the FBI is getting in on it and stuff and investigating it. And the people at the call center tried to quit because a lot of them are Americans. They're crossing the border to work there, knowing full well what's going on. But they're like, look, it's getting hot. We're going to quit. And they're like, oh, okay, come here. They took them all, shot them, dead, chopped them up as an example to anybody else who's thinking about quitting. And then they put them in like 42 garbage bags and just threw them in a ditch with no real intention of concealing what happened. They don't care. And of course, somebody stumbled upon it and it makes the international news.
Think about how sick-minded you have to be.
Yeah, but you can ask Gunner. I come up with these stories every week.
First of all, my wife came and said, I found you a good mechanic on the side, real cheap. I'm like, that makes my day because the freaking mechanic that I was going to go for trying to give me for $900 for something that should be about $350. You know what I'm saying? And that's why I was like, man, effing, I'll go online. I'll put a shout out to someone else online. But anyways, back to this sicko chopping up bodies, man. Like that's one of the. Can you imagine, like with a hatchet or a knife, and just somebody's arm, throw it in a bag, head? I mean, that's some sick ass effing crap. And like I've smashed people till they were bloody pulse, and I still couldn't imagine chopping a guy up or something or someone. Anyway, sorry, Dennis. I didn't mean to freak you out with that, but I'm just saying.
Well, the things happen. I'm involved. I've started a new business venture, which I'm excited about. I spent.
What is it?
Well, let me kind of tell you a little bit. I've had a difficult time getting a job remotely, and
Why is that?
Well, I think when they search my name They made my book.
It's the background check, bro.
Yeah. So that's been problematic. I mean, I have a fake master's degree, which is what I call it in my book, and an undergrad degree in construction. So I was pursuing a position in either project management or estimating, and I was unable to get a position. So anyway, that was fine. But what I stumbled on is an interesting business. I'm recruiting nurses from Mexico to work in the United States hospitals.
You get a commission on that?
Yes, I receive about $1,200 per nurse.
That should be easy, bro.
They must have a nursing degree and be fluent in Spanish, conversational level, because if you think nursing's very technical.
Yeah.
So I'm working with a company.
Wait a minute, you're taking Spanish nurses and bringing them north, right?
That's right, Mexican nurses.
Right, so they got to be fluent in English, right?
That's correct.
Yeah, not Spanish. Okay.
Yes.
Of course you're fluent in Spanish.
If I made a mistake.
Right.
But anyway,
I knew what you meant.
There's a big nursing shortage in the United States.
Oh, yeah.
1/3 of the nurses quit because they didn't want to take
COVID, the jab.
Yeah. And then many of them are ill, so they need to replace them.
So how do you get them into the country?
Pardon me, guys.
Legally. American wants and needs them.
No, yes, it's a special visa with a pathway to citizenship, and it's only with Mexico. So they were importing the nurses from the Philippines and India, Pakistan, but for some reason the government wants to import from Mexico now.
I mean, here's the thing. I've met some really nice Mexican housekeepers and nurses over the years. They're very nice and hardworking, so I get it. I think that's a Mexican, adding a few Mexicans nurses would be a great thing. The problem is you just got to be careful as you're recruiting them because they could fake their credentials and be like, they could take like a 90-day crash. What do they call it? Like the nurse's assistance like course, gets that, fakes some paperwork that says she's a full-blown RN. Bang, you're like, okay, cool. Here's another nurse. She could probably get up there and fake it. She just say, don't speak no English well, and nah, that probably won't fly. But just saying, just joking.
There's many variables to this business. I'm working with a firm out of Wisconsin that does the immigration side of it and negotiates the contracts with the hospitals because you have to have employment in line before the visa will be issued. So right now they're expediting the Mexican visas, which takes about 90 days. So you're kind of draining talent from Mexico to go to the United States, but they're paying them about $70,000 with plenty of opportunities for overtime.
Oh, they're going to get more than that eventually. Nurses where I live, like a registered nurse where I live probably makes 90. Where I live.
More experience, more pay, more certification, more pay.
And a nurse practitioner is making like 160 here. It's crazy. I know a couple of them, so I kind of.
So do you feel like these nurses are like looking for a path to citizenship, or are they just shipping money down to Mexico?
It's a combination of both.
Yeah, I mean, I guess if you're a Mexican nurse and you're being paid $25,000 a year, or if that, and all of a sudden someone says, "Hey, you want to make 70 in America?" I mean, you're like, why not go to America? And I don't know anybody, but know anything else. But just it's tripling my salary, so that's what they're doing.
It's funny you bring that up because that's what it breaks down to. A Mexican nurse makes about $25,000 in Mexico, so it is about 3 times in the United States. So many of the nurses are married to another, maybe a spouse that's an engineer. A lot of college type people marry college type people, so maybe I can get them jobs working in engineering.
You can do that too. So you have, what do you mean? You have somebody who's willing to hire other people besides nurses?
Yes, the firm also specializes in engineers too. There's a big demand for engineers in the United States.
Nurses and engineers.
Yes. Plus, this is a story my friend told me. He recruited an engineer from Mexico, and they ended up doing more carpentry or truss building for manufactured trusses, and which a carpenter would do in the United States. But they were making good money, and then they would ship it back home. I also have a story.
Call said there's a lot of Filipino nurses in Israel. So, Dennis, you never have a lot of kind words for Israel. How do Filipino nurses grab you?
Yes, Israel, the country, is such an interesting story with the United States. Founded in 1947, the first country to recognize it was the United States. About 10 minutes later, by President Truman. I call Israel the United States' little big brother.
Why? Because you feel like they're calling the shots, the big bankers?
Yes, the banksters, and both sides. The banksters, all wars are bankster wars. They lend on both sides of the ledger, and that's what they're all about. But my problem with the country of Israel specifically is that they use our soldiers as pawns, and that's what I outlined in my book so accurately, that I start my book with the interview with Maurer, the Jewish guy on HBO, and he's interviewing Benjamin Netanyahu. And Maurer says to Netanyahu, "What's the secret that you have for ending wars so quickly?" And Benjamin Netanyahu, the prime murderer of Israel, said, "The secret is we have the United States. Those are my brothers and sisters being used for their wars."
Yeah,
and that
I know.
bothers me greatly. So, my book hits home, and it hits hard. And it's tough for vets to read, because 58,000 died in the Vietnam conflict, and over 70,000 that returned committed suicide.
Yeah, that's true. I know. I wrote a book on Vietnam, so I mean, I know when I was writing that book, I read about, I don't know, 25, 30 books, maybe more, maybe 50 books, just to research that story. And I had a 1,100-page encyclopedia, Vietnam War encyclopedia, that I worked from when I wrote it. And anyways, yeah, I get it. So all of these wars, every war, even now with the funding in Ukraine, it's all money. It's always for money. The defense contractors alone have to keep these things moving. Something has to be moving because they got to make these billions of dollars. It's truly disgusting if you think about it. Bill?
Yeah, and I want to hit his book real quick because I'm kind of ducking it out right now with that head.
Yeah.
Proletarian Two-Step. I did read it. It is a hard read. It's a hard read. And one of my one of the most troubling things I read was when you named the corporations that had helped the Nazis, and they were American corporations, and they're ones and he'll go into detail about how they profited from the Nazi regimes and things like that, and they did it almost openly. You know what I mean? And then if they get called, they just start doing some sly stuff. It's a real good chapter in the book, but it's a tough read. Yeah. It is, and I knew like 3 pages in, I'm not going to like this.
What made it so hard? Just because it was like a mirror?
Because it says a lot of things about America that Americans aren't going to want to hear.
Yeah. But Americans should hear.
Right. Yeah, you can't put your head in the sand. You gotta face it. That doesn't mean we're still not one of the best countries, in my opinion.
Well, the best. It doesn't mean we're not.
The system ain't perfect. You know what I mean?
No.
But we still got these broads. You can't take that away.
I think it is best. I just think it's flawed and broken. But the problem is can it be fixed? I mean, listen.
I don't think the system's broken. I think we got bad people injected into the system.
Yeah, but the system itself allowed for that. So we had to have a new system that doesn't allow the weird and where idiots and freaking scamming, evil criminals and perverts can take over the government and make all the calls. That has to be stopped. So we have to get control somehow. Can it happen? Don't know. Will Jesus come before that happens? Don't know. I'm on the fence on all of it, but I would like to see America kind of go back the other way to sanity, where they can say, this is what a woman is. I think kids shouldn't even think about sex till they're 15 years old. I think, all these things. I said, if we go back to that, I'm like, but we're just heading down a freaking path of what the F. Although in the last couple of weeks, I've seen some pushback from like more conservative people talking about like religion, for example. All the people, you can't say anything about a Muslim, an LGBT, gay, black, woman, nothing. Just a Christian. You can say anything you want about Christians because and that's always were the complaint was that we're not the accepting ones, right? Christians, they say that, right. And like Christians are the ones who are allowing you to just make fun of our religion, ha ha ha, and we're not freaking grabbing a shotgun and putting it to your head like a Muslim would do, maybe. Oh, what is that? Freedom isn't free. Yeah, is that a book?
No, it was just a little sign. I was reminding people, like with the veterans and stuff, like even the freedoms that we do have. To Dennis's point, we're spilling a lot of blood.
We spilled a lot of blood.
For that, if it's for that.
Yeah, we spilled more blood for other people than ourselves.
Correct. When was the last time somebody invaded the U.S.? We've lost a lot of soldiers.
Never.
Right? Exactly. Like, when's the last time someone invaded America? Last never, right? And we've lost hundreds and hundreds of thousands of soldiers. I mean, the Revolutionary
But that in no way makes me less appreciative of the soldiers' commitment and.
No, of course, absolutely not. It makes me none less. But still, like the Revolutionary War was necessary. We can all agree that it was necessary. So that had men who died there had to die. But I think past that, it's
possibly the Civil War had to happen.
Yeah, but why couldn't one side just be like, you know what? Why couldn't the South just go, you know what? Owning another human isn't right.
They're not going to get there.
Well, that's what I'm saying. In the world, like, why can't it? Like, if we all know what's right and wrong, we all know what's good, but there's a degree of it that's taught to you and it's in your culture. But I mean, why? I'm saying is the policy was alive and relevant while slavery was a part of the system, and that's what I'm saying. We need to remove certain parts of the system that allows for, okay, let me give you an example. Hypothetically, if the election was rigged, not saying it was, YouTube, just saying hypothetically, if it was rigged, right, and that was allowed to happen, all right, then we are at a point in time to where nothing else matters anymore in terms of like, if somebody can steal an election, then what's the point of even watching an election or listening to an election or listening to a debate or whatever? It's over. You're not going to stop it. And part of me thinks that's the case. No matter what you do, they're going to steal this again. And so now I have to
did you see today or yesterday there was like a court injunction that told the Biden administration they can't intimidate social media into censoring content.
Yeah.
They're bullying. So good. That'll stop now, right? They won't do it anymore because they can't.
Right, you can't.
The fact that they would even have to do it is a joke. They're complicit. Social media is already complicit in the censorship. You don't have to tell them what to do now. They know what to do.
Well, go ahead, Dennis.
One of the guys in that chapter in my book that I think is so interesting is a guy by the name of Otto Ambrose. And Otto Ambrose was known as the devil's chemist, and he was convicted of war crimes, and he served in a prison called Landsberg Prison. And Landsberg Prison is not the type of prison that Gunner was in. It was a country club, and it had some famous people that had served in the prison. Adolf Hitler served in the prison in 1933. And I have a picture of him in my book in a three-piece suit. He celebrated his 40th birthday. He was very upset that the ice cream did not have, or the cake did not have ice cream. He negotiated the price of his Mercedes-Benz while he was there. But getting back to Otto,
Hitler was in prison at the time for crimes committed in World War I.
No, for his uprising in the beer deal over there. They put him in prison for a couple
Did Joshua
years.
just check me, man? Did I
I
got fact checked by
the beer hall push.
An intern just fact checked me, man. What the frick? Where'd he come from? Smart ass kid.
So,
all right.
I got people all around me.
So Otto Ambrose gets convicted of war crimes at the Nuremberg trials, the dog and pony show. They only put about 7 people to death. The smart people went to the United States, which is where Otto Ambrose ended up. He was released from Landsberg Prison after serving 3 years. He was released early. Now get this. W.R. Grace, the chemical company, wrote a letter vouching for his character. He was released and he went to the United States. He worked for Army Chemical Corp, Dow Chemical, DuPont, and in the 1960s, which drug was he involved with, Bill?
I can't remember.
The stump baby one, thiamididine?
Oh, yeah, and I would not remember that.
Okay, so that
this is the chapter I'm talking about.
Yeah, so he got out of the chemical company and he went to work for the pharmaceutical company, and morning sickness pills were causing all these stump babies. Anyway, that was his drug. He was called the devil's chemist. But yeah, all those American corporations, Chase
stump
Bank,
babies. What do you mean, like babies with like stump limbs?
Major deformities. Yeah.
Yes.
Oh,
yes,
great.
and they knew it was going on. They introduced the pill briefly in the United States, but they didn't continue with it.
Did they ever get sued for the stump babies?
No, he retired in Germany, a millionaire, and sat on several boards.
This is a guy who probably killed a bunch of Jews during World War II.
Yeah, he was involved with the concentration camps, the construction, what Bill's talking about, that chapter.
He's rotting in hell right now, though, so we don't have to worry. He's burning in hell.
The steel was produced by American firms. The banking was Chase Bank. GM was involved. Ford was involved. Ford was friends with Adolf Hitler. He received the first highest praise. So yeah, these American corporations, IBM, Coca-Cola, Colgate, they were all involved, and they continued to march on. No one said anything, and here we are today. That's the way it goes. There's an old saying about war: the first victim is truth.
Yeah, I can see that.
It's true. Right now as we talk,
all for tests. Let's see who's there.
Right now, as we're sitting here talking, they're setting up the possible false flag of that nuclear plant in the Ukraine. So, you read my book, Bill, The Gulf of Tonkin in 1964, the
Vietnam,
Lusitania, Pearl Harbor. I can't prove that one, but, the list goes on and on. The 9/11, obviously, 2 planes can't bring down 3 buildings.
What can you prove about Pearl Harbor?
That one I haven't studied enough, and it's really hard to conclusively prove that one.
Prove what?
That it was a false flag where the government creates the incident. It's problem, reaction, solution. Like when they brought the 3 towers down in New York.
To get us involved in a war,
Yes. So,
before Pearl Harbor, there was very little interest in joining this conflict.
Oh, yeah, I know.
That's true. And that's maybe what they're setting up in the Ukraine with the nuclear plant, saying, right now, Zelensky is saying that they have photos or something of Russia putting possible explosives on the top of the nuclear plant. So if that blows, remember last week, your government, the senators were getting together with a bill stating if a nuclear plant goes off, it's an act of war and they'll respond with appropriate measures. So they're kind of setting up this narrative. They like to do that with predictive programming. But it's very disturbing because, nuclear technology, if you think about it, it's 80 years old at least. So they have new weapons and they're much more powerful. The lasers, nukes are old news.
Yeah.
I'd still worry about nukes.
The way I understand the latest thing is Russia said they had information that the Ukrainians are going to blow it up. It was today. I think they're going to do it today. Ukraine's like, no, that's nonsense. Russia put some detonable devices on there and we've dismantled them and diffused them. But they're like, but they'll probably attack it again at some other point in a larger way. So that's where we're at with that.
Well, it looks like the United States government is responsible for that Nord Stream pipeline and the
right. But we're supposed to believe now that some guys on a rowboat went over there, jumped down and did it.
Yeah. So, but either way, it doesn't matter. Like I said, the first casualty in war is the truth, and either way, we're off to the races. And the way I see it, it's a first strike. You take down a couple U.S. cities, they all fold.
Yeah, I agree.
Into chaos, and I hope that doesn't happen.
And then we'll be free.
Right.
Well, we have the possibility to be free if we choose to be free, but we have to determine that we don't want any government at all.
Yeah, is that even possible? Because as soon as you topple the government, there's a power vacuum and somebody always fills it. And it's usually the biggest, baddest, meanest dude.
Yeah.
Well, there's many studies. If you take away 100% of the wealth in the country, within a few years, the wealth will go back to the same people that had it in the first place. So what is the difference? If you go back to the robber barons or the lumber barons or the aluminum barons, what's the difference? At least the government's not involved. They're not helping.
Right. The government's the worst.
Right, but like a true conservative philosophy would be like the less government, the better. But we never see it in practice.
Say it again, Dennis.
I was just asking my wife to get the flashlight. It's getting a little dark here. But I don't see where government's helping the people. It's totally fraudulent. The people
I agree, man. Bill, do you agree? Don't you agree?
That the government's fraudulent? Yeah.
Yeah, so why have it? The president of Yashkaba, I asked him, he speaks English pretty well, and I'm working on my Spanish, but it's still basic level. Anyway, I asked him, I said, is government good or bad? I try to keep things very simple with the questions to him. And he thought about it, and he said, bad. And then I immediately asked the next question. I'll ask you guys. Then why do we have it?
Okay, because I don't think that's the right question. Is government good or bad? Is government necessary in a global landscape where there are other governments plotting against us?
Well, I don't believe in any country or government. But
they exist. The Chinese government's not going anywhere. If we're all just chaotic, they're going to come in and sweep up the mess.
Want our resources?
Well, there's 8 billion of us, and there's only really about 1,000 bad characters. Now, if we can't win that basketball game just by telling them, hey, we're not going to comply, we're not going to do this, and we all unite as humanity, we don't judge anyone, color, race. We be free. We accept people. Just respect.
Bad guys are going to happen.
Who's we? Is we Americans or we like a global population?
The global population, ideally, because
it'll never happen. You're living in a fantasy land. It's a fantasy land. It'll never happen. There'll be people who are going to want more power, more money, more whatever, and they're going to take it. End of story. It's not a fantasy. Like, of course, if everybody was just, hey, let's all be cool and get along now and just, shop, use each other's resources, blah, 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 it'd be great. It's never going to happen because one dude's going to go like, you know what? He's got too much, so I want some of it. And then,
maybe this is a problem that cures itself when the currency finally fails.
Yeah, maybe. Because right now they go, hey, Dennis Jantzen makes a lot of sense. People like what he's saying. Let's use him to perpetrate socialism and communism.
No.
That's how they think.
You're right. People.
Well, I don't stand for any of those. I mean, what we have going on in the United
but that's States. That's how that sentiment thinks, though. Anything people are passionate about or love, hey, how do we spin that into communism?
Yeah, in the cabinet.
Black Lives Matter, anything.
I'm just saying, I don't think ever in the history of will humanity, this dates back as far back as you go to the beginning of time with humans since they became like feudal clans. Before that, there's cavemen, but then they became feudal clans. Someone's always going to think he's more dominant or smarter, or deserves more, or whatever. He can. Back then, they would just take the shit. Like if I was the toughest guy in the clan, I would be like, I'm taking your shit and your wife and your daughter and everybody else, and it's coming with me. But then, eventually, so we do have a system of government to kind of stop that from happening. But I mean, I do believe in like police and the military and all that. But I just think they're so overreaching their boundaries when it comes to telling me taxing me is ridiculous. I mean, all the different taxes I pay are insane, right? That's one thing. And I should have like for me to even go fishing, I have to buy a fishing license, or go hunting, there's a hunting license, and there's a fee and something for everything, and they just rape you, try and intensely take people like normal people and say, I'm going to take as much money from you as I can to where you just are scraping along. And it doesn't matter to some people if they're in a high tax bracket, like whatever, depends what life they're living, what kind of life they're living. But I mean, I just don't like it. I don't like the government telling me what I can and can't do, what I can and can't say, what I can and can't have, how much I have to pay to not go to jail, all of that. So that stuff I certainly am over in terms of the government. But
right, and you have a political party that perpetrates that, but then next thing you know, you got a bridge to nowhere.
Yeah, exactly.
Like they talk it, but nobody ever lives it. I'm
not saying that we don't need money. We shouldn't have a government that kind of manages the affairs of society, and of course the police. And I just think it's probably should be about 1/10 of what it is size wise, and it should have about maybe 1/10 of the licenses and fees and taxes that year. Now the government just backed up, said that because really most of these government people, these government workers, they're not really high skilled workers. Most of them are freaking very minimum skilled or no skilled workers. The government, they shouldn't be paid the highest amount of money. If you look at in Washington D.C. has the highest rate of pay in government. Like the people in government have a pay rate of an average of $250,000 a year, but the rest of the people have an average of like $49,000. These are politicians. Why do they are paid so much more than average people? And then they work. They got 8 months a year. They're not even in the office. On and on and on. This is the thing that drives me crazy about government. Like,
and you get the bribes and kickbacks, but why would you want to do it if there wasn't hookers and parties and bribes and kickbacks? Why do you even want to do that job?
Well, I would want to do it because I'd like to be helping people. I would like to make the world a better place. I would like to, encourage the world, whatever. If it was me, I'd do it just to be better, to do it as a service to my fellow men and women and say, I want to help. But so many people get
better ways to serve. That's a place where you go when you're an egomaniac. You want to control people and you want corruption.
Maybe.
Hey, Bill.
Why can't you go in there and fix stuff? Why can't you go in there and kick some stuff around and say, yo, man, you guys
those people are like working for the churches and charities and Goodwill and things like that. Except for the people at the very top that are fleecing that money.
The government, you're right. I mean, the only way to play it is this. You go into the government, running for Congress, Senate, whatever, and you're going to play it like you're one of them. And you get in there and just cutthroat, whatever. But all along, you're fronting, and you're going to get all the way up to the like top of the food chain and wear a wire on those mother effers and camera and get them just saying, you know. But that means you might have to watch by as some pervert freaking, you know, pedophilia crap goes on or something. And I can't. I could never watch. Never.
Well, so cut you off at the news. You're going to go to law enforcement. The DOJ is one of them.
Yeah, the DA is just one of them. Because that guy banging the kid is the DOJ.
Yeah. That's what bothers me the most about the United States is the corruption and double standard, especially for crimes. I look at a guy like Gunner who gets this long sentence, and I look at these people in DC that are criminals, and it's so clear.
Nothing.
And that bothers me greatly. That's why I don't believe in any government at all. This is just ridiculous. These people are thinking of us as their serfs, and that's ridiculous. I don't like that. Now, Bill, in my book, I wrote about the empires failing and some of the signs and some of the patterns. And one of the things that I didn't discuss in the book, but that's kind of interesting that's going on right now in the Congress or the Senate in Rome, when it was failing, they were arguing whether the angels were men or women. So, you know, I often quote Mark Twain when I'm on your guys' program that history doesn't often repeat, but it rhymes. So many of these similar traits that we're seeing as the United States empire fails are definitely happening, and they're playing out. So I think we have a ways to go, meaning I still stand by my prediction of 2025 that the currency system is going to fail because the debt monetization will be nearly 100% of all the currency creation. And the other thing is the velocity of currency is increasing significantly. I tried to send you guys a chart today, and I've talked about this in the past. But as the velocity of money increases, you have it chasing the same amount of products or services. That's going to push up prices. That's your inflation. Don't believe the government statistics. We know they're fake on the inflation. Right. So here's the thing coming up. If you can, save up some cash because gold and silver are going on sale. Okay? They're not going up. The price is going down. Right now, gold is about $19.15 an ounce. It's going to go down to about $17.30. And that's because they're raising the interest rates, and they're going to continue until the re-election campaign season. That's when they lower them. Then the war will also start with Russia, but not until then because you don't change commander-in-chief during wartime. Biden wins this re-election. Either it's rigged or he wins. Either way, he's winning it. And I could care less. I'm not political. I'm just telling you what I believe is going to happen.
God, I hope not, man. I hope not.
The party is over in 2025.
Yeah, it was an interesting chapter. Another thing he had pointed out was different civilizations that rise and fall, and they saw like the gender disputes and the pushing of sexual deviance and breakdowns of family units and stuff like that.
Happens every time.
A lot of stuff that you're seeing now, it's already happened before. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like you said, maybe not exactly, but the tone is there, and you see
it's there. Yeah.
A lot of the precursors of the fall we're seeing right now.
Yeah, that chapter was a lot of the information came from a guy by the name of Dalio. What's his first name? Anyway, he's a billionaire and studied the lifestyles or life expectancies, traits of empires failing, and the United States lines up on nearly every trait. And when I wrote my book,
should buy this book too, because I mean we're talking about a lot of heavy stuff. The book's not that long. I mean, it's just packed with stuff. It's not like it's to be a king, you know, it's not this thick. You know, it's pretty thin, and it's just hits it.
Yeah, the United States financially is in a lot of trouble. Most of the corporations, and I say most of them, are what they call zombie corporations, where they're only churning enough revenue to basically pay the principal and the light bills. And that doesn't allow corporations to become innovative and, you know, invest in their own corporation, so they become stagnant and then they fail because competition will rise in either overseas or in the United States and replace them.
Doesn't it seem true, though, that like there's not a million corporations? They're starting to become fewer and fewer and fewer with more.
Getting bought out.
Yes, that's. I'm glad you brought that up, and that's the trend with the United States beer. See, you can only have two winners in a business sector. Think Colgate, Crest, Uber, Lyft, Ford, Chevy. I've said like Chrysler's not even Fiat anymore. I just saw today they changed their corporation name. So that bumps out New Holland, by the way, in Michigan. That's a foreign corporation now. Okay. So you guys know I'm from Kenosha, and Kenosha got swallowed up by, you know, the Chrysler, Fiat, Daimler, all that stuff. But no, the corporations in the rule of two is they'll scale everything down to two, and that's where fascism stands when you have the merger of corporations and government, which is where you're at. So all the other businesses fail. There can only be two. There's always three that gets what they call the outlier share, which is about 13% in business. And then that one goes down during a recession. Then there's only two. That's why that's why I said about Bitcoin. I said Bitcoin's the winner, but I don't know who the second place is because there are only two.
Is gold the second place?
No, well, gold is money. And there's nothing like it. It's indestructible.
Yeah, Bitcoin is indestructible. Something could happen, an attack or whatever. That's why I don't trust Bitcoin or any of the cyber. It's like an NFT. Like, where's this? And how do you know? How do you keep that from some hack taking it or just destroying it? So I like the idea of gold too.
Yeah, you know, guys, if you think about like what you buy in the supermarket, how that's scaled down your varieties, and kind of start thinking about it too. You know, General Mills, and then there's the other cereal. The other ones kind of they fall off, and you're seeing that in the beer. I mean, Budweiser it hasn't been a U.S. corporation for many years. Miller hasn't. That's from my Wisconsin, from my state. I believe it's a South African brewery now. So we've lost a lot of corporations that still have U.S. names, but they don't identify with the U.S. Like the best-selling beer right now is Modelo, which is also owned.
Is that Mexican?
See,
yeah. I mean, all these corporations are owned by two corporations, and I've talked about this in the past. There's only two that own everything.
Do you drink Modelo?
I don't drink. I quit drinking. As you probably read in my book, I quit drinking, and that was at the beginning. It didn't work for me anymore. You can ask my wife.
I still drink a lot. It could be argued that it's not working for me either, but I still do. Modelo to me is like a Schlitz, and it's gaining in popularity. You know, it's just getting more and more popular, and I drank it, and I'm like, I don't know. People don't breathe the same air I do. It's like it's just not one of my favorites. You know what I mean? Like the boycott for Bud Light. Like they should boycott Bud Light because it's a shit beer. You know what I mean?
Right.
And why Modelo is all of a sudden the darling? I don't know. I'd rather have a Yingling.
It's weird.
Well, like I said, the corporation they don't lose anything because they own Modelo. So
Bud Light owns Modelo?
Yeah, Bud Light, it's the same firm.
Yeah, Modelo is becoming.
Yeah, that's how these banks.
Modelo is taking the place of Bud Light.
Yeah,
that's so dumb. That's how dumb people are. I'm gonna buy Modelo. I'm gonna buy Modelo because I don't want to buy Bud Light. Hey, gotcha.
Dude, they'll probably just can up the Bud Light and call it Modelo.
Yeah, what they're doing. They just switch the can out over there. People are that dumb. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, we'll call it Modelo Light. They'll love it.
I mean, you should. If you're gonna drink beer, you should know. You should know what beer.
All the health problems in the United States that I hear about, I don't think people should be drinking so much beer at all.
Anyway, right? Anyway. Well, dude, we got a lot of
like in the corporate mergers now. You've got Facebook, right? That's become Meta. They own Instagram, and they're launching something that's supposed to come out and battle Twitter because they didn't get Twitter, right?
Yeah.
Like all your social medias are starting to merge and become one thing.
Well, you know about Infinite. If we get Infinite off the ground, we would collapse all of those. But I mean, I do think Twitter will be around for the long haul. Instagram probably not. Facebook is already dead. It's down the road. But Twitter, because for whatever reason, it's where famous people go and voice their opinions, and then millions of stupid.
Yeah, but when Zuckerberg launches his Twitter, the libs are probably going to go to that.
Yeah.
The famous people are libs.
Yeah, well, I'm just saying that's what Twitter's used for. It's their ego-wise, they'll always continue to use it because they could go on Twitter and post their opinion, and there'll be 44,000 freaking dorks they've never heard of, would never talk to, don't even know exist, go under their post and comment with each other for the next 4 days on the same thing.
Yeah, but I'm telling you, the next year we're going to see a concerted effort of competition, and they're going to try to make Twitter MySpace. That's what's going to happen in the next year. I don't say they're going to succeed. They're going to try.
Bill, if you call that, dude, you're a bad mother effer, and the next drink's on me when you get here. All right.
I hope it's not true. I don't want that to happen.
I don't care one way or another. I hope you pull it off. I mean, I'm rooting for you now. Like if that happens.
I'm just saying what I think is going to happen. I don't want it to happen.
I don't think they're going to gang up on Twitter and try to freaking make it go away. Although they're outgunned.
I think they absolutely are going to try.
They're outgunned mentally and physically and financially. On every regard, they're outgunned. They got Tucker Carlson. They got freaking Elon Musk. There's no way you're going to outsmart them with $100 billion behind their back. So these guys, and Facebook sucks. Instagram sucks. The only one who has a chance, even a little, is TikTok, and that's Chinese. So I mean, I don't think no matter what they try to do, Twitter ain't going nowhere, and that's because Elon Musk and Tucker Carlson, in my opinion.
Yeah. Hey, somebody's got a question for Dennis. The final call asks, Dennis, what is your opinion about the oil and gas industry? How long will it be around?
Well, Mexico.
I'm bullish on the price of oil. Especially oil has a lot of factors that are going to lift its price heavier, including war, supply cuts. So yeah, I think oil is a good investment. Natural gas, same thing. I like most of the commodities.
Are we ever going to start mining oil again? Is this pipeline going to open? If that did, that would be a hell of a freaking break at the gas pump. Everybody, gas would go down to about a third of what it is.
Which pipeline?
The main one.
The Keystone.
Yeah, Keystone.
The one he stopped. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I don't think so. He's going to be reelected, so that's a scarcity.
Here's my problem with oil too: is you have to refine the oil. Okay. To refine the oil, we don't have the resources to do it enough. You would have to invest billions and billions of dollars in oil refineries. Why would you do that when you see the way that's going and all the legislation is going toward electric and stuff? You'd have to have rocks in your head to want to build a refinery right now until you see stabilization. And America's not stable because we reelect somebody every 4 years and completely change course. Like I think we used to kind of do this, but now we're going like this.
It's not even that. It's because the volatility of the parties, I think, going both ways. You know what I'm saying? Are so unstable and reckless and crazy.
I mean, how can you invest billions and billions of dollars in any kind of technology like that when you don't know where it's going to go?
There's refineries in the Gulf Coast. There's tons of refineries in the Gulf Coast, and the people who own those, typically they would be the ones. They're they're making the most money because right now because the oil coming from the Middle East, it's probably contracted to them. Now, if it was coming from the other way, it might be going to somebody else. Like if it comes from the Keystone Pipeline, it might go to some other refineries or have to go somewhere. But right now, the oil is coming through the Middle Eastern. So imagine if you own an oil refinery, right, and you got contracts with Saudi Arabia, right? But as Keystone Pipeline is open and all this other oil is coming in, flooding the market from over here. Now my demand for oil from Saudi Arabia is dropped down to a tenth of what it was.
Plus, you have reason then to reinvest in your oil refineries. But right now, I don't see that they have the motivation to reinvest and put all their eggs in that basket.
No, I had heard that the United States hadn't built a new oil refinery since 1979. So they're not investing in oil, but there's a demand for it. The only thing I would say about investing in oil, most of the time when you do that, you're doing it in ETF funds or exchange traded funds, and eventually they go to zero. All that paper gold, all that goes to zero when the currency fails because your asset that you're selling is only redeemable in the currency and it has no value. That'll happen in about 2025.
Well, all I know is that
I did want to ask you guys if you're considering voting for Robert Kennedy Jr.
No. I like the guy, but I don't think I'd vote for him.
Well, he would have to run against a Democrat in a primary, right? Or are you talking about running for him as an independent?
Well, I guess the way it's set up now, he would be running against Biden
in a primary. Yeah, so it's
primary. If he was a Democratic nominee, would you consider voting for him compared to Trumpster?
Maybe.
Yeah, I might think.
I can tell you this: if it was him against Trump, then I really don't care who wins.
I mean, honestly, DeSantis would probably make a better president overall, but I think DeSantis.
But if Kennedy was on the ticket for the first time, maybe in my lifetime, I wouldn't mind a Democrat winning.
Wherever the case is, we can't get that California governor. That's insanity. I mean, just look at his freaking look at what he's done to his city. It's just a joke.
Yes. DeSantis is not your man. Trust me.
No, he don't have big enough balls. He don't have enough backbone.
You talking about balls? How much balls does it take for a man with the last name Kennedy to run for a major political office?
Who?
Yeah, Kennedy. Especially after Israel killed his father in 1968. Very, very brave, and he's recently.
Kennedys don't last long. Yeah, you might as well be like a sniper in Vietnam. You know,
the mob took some of them out.
He did recently say
Ramaswamy. You know what I'm talking about? Ramaswamy. I can't think of his name. The Indian guy, real smart young Indian guy.
From Miami.
Ramaswamy. I'm terrible with names. He's a good-looking Indian dude, real smart. I think a Yale graduate. And anyways, he's running for president. Yamaswamy, something Swami. Somebody.
What did Kennedy say that you wanted to tell us?
Oh, I don't remember. I was just listening.
You said Robert Kennedy said recently.
Oh, Robert Kennedy recently said that the CIA killed his uncle in November.
Yeah, I saw that.
1963.
Yeah, I heard that too.
Yeah, that's how I opened my book with the chapter called Slippery Slope, because the gentleman in the passenger seat, front seat, was John Conley, and he was the governor of Texas, and he was struck 3 times by this magic bullet. Anyway, he became the Treasury Secretary in 1971, and he did the Nixon shock, and that's when they severed the tie between the currency and gold. So, and what was interesting about that, he did that under Nixon, the Nixon shock. He was a Democratic governor from Texas. They gave him that job because he did not sing like a canary about the Kennedy basically coup. they killed the president of the United States. So Robert Kennedy Jr. recently said that he would end the department or the CIA. Yeah. And he said he'd end the Department of Education. And it's like, well, you can keep going. You should end a lot more departments. But I'm not saying he's good or bad. I don't like his policies towards Israel, but it seems like the United States is always going to be cozy with those murderers. But
well, Gunner, did you see that interview with Robert Kennedy when he was talking about this stuff?
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, Gunner, did you see it?
Oh,
what?
The Robert Kennedy interview where he was talking about the CIA and who killed his father?
I saw a clip from it.
Yeah, JC from Mob Entertainment Group sent it to me. And the interesting part was, they've got Sirhan firing all these shots and killing him, right? And he was saying Sirhan was in front of him. He aimed the gun. This bodyguard attacked him and stuff. And then he shot random people. He kept firing while they're wrestling the gun away and stuff. But his dad was killed by shots in the back. And he was saying it was his CIA guy that was behind him that shot him and had a gun out. And they're like, why do you got a gun out? He goes, because Sirhan was shooting, so I took my gun out. But he said, no, man, he shot my dad in the back and killed him.
Yeah, Sirhan was visited. He was visited by Robert Kennedy Jr. in prison, and Kennedy Jr. asked him if he killed his father, and he said no. His firearm was a revolver. I think it held 8 shots. There was 12 shots or so that were fired. And, he was killed. He got clipped behind the ear by probably CIA. I haven't studied it that much, but they killed his he killed his uncle. And that's the way that they do it.
Robert Kennedy laid it out in this thing. Really, frankly.
That's one of the reasons. That's one of the reasons I quit paying taxes. I said, no way, I'm not paying for this. I know too much about it. I'm not going to support fake wars, which I call them fake because the United States hasn't declared a real war since 1942.
But we're in a war right now with Russia.
The United States is in 3 declared wars. None of them are with the Ukraine or with Russia yet, but it's in Syria, over in the sand regions where they're always fighting. Those are actually wars, according to Wikipedia. But like I said, the politicians will not vote on it. And that bothers me because they don't want to take a vote to send my brothers and sisters to go fight for these conflicts that are caused by governments. Right. People want peace. When the Vietnam War...
understanding right now, we have American boots on the ground, more or less, in Ukraine fighting Russians.
Well, they started, look, we had 3 guys from Kenosha that went down in 1964 in Vietnam early on. That's when the special officers or OS, whatever they called them.
They went as advisors?
Basically, they're contractors. Watch videos. You have contractors fighting from Austria, which I say contractors. What that is mercenaries. They go to the highest bidder. These guys travel around and fight. They're professional mercenaries. They don't have anything to do with Ukraine.
I've met some guys like that.
Yeah. So that's what's going on. And the United States has a very large private military. So, there's this guy. His name's David Knight, and he said this. I like this quote. He said, "A standing army will eventually stand against the citizens." And he's right. I saw this in Kenosha, a couple years ago when I was there, that Kyle Rittenhouse deal down there. We had tanks rolling down Sheridan Road. They were the tanks from some of the sand wars. They bring them back stateside. They're using them against the citizens.
This guy, Bill, you got to look him up. Vivek Ramaswamy. That's his name.
Ramaswamy. You'll have to text me that because I can't sound it out.
Ramaswamy.
He's the mayor of Miami, isn't he?
He might be. He's just smart. I don't think so. No, I think he's a senator. He's a senator. And he's very, very smart. I think he went to Yale. Anyways, listen to me. I think he's going to run for president as an independent or a Republican. But he's, I don't know. I don't think he's corrupted. I think he's actually a legit, real deal. Wants to do, but he's very rational. so he knows how to debate with the Democrats and the feelings and all that. I think that guy could be something. I don't think he's going to make it to be a president in the next election, but who knows? I think if Dennis is right, when we get Biden, I might just go black, bro. Like I don't think how could we live through another 4 years of friggin' Biden? By the time his presidency is up, if he's even still alive, God forbid, they're gonna have to prop him up with the Weekend at Bernie's. By then, kids will be automatically getting transitioned naturally by the time they're 7 years old, and there'll be 40, 50-year-old men sleeping with 9-year-old girls legally. And that's the type of weird, freaky crap that they're going to have happen if you get another 4 years of that motherfucker. Unless something happens, which it could. I guess it could. People are.
Yeah, I mean, all that sick stuff will happen. But let's just look at the age of the two front runners. I mean, you have President Biden, who at the end of his second term will be 86 years old. Wow. You have President Trumpster, if elected, he'd be about 84. That's old. And I've said this on the program in the past. The United States today reminds me of the 1990s Russia when they failed.
Right.
And maybe it's time for the United States to start breaking apart and succeeding. And there's been talk about that, and that may be the best course.
Well, it'd be great, but states like California won't want that because they can't survive without everybody's money.
Well, how they would survive? China would come in and help.
It could be, and we could sell us your soul.
It. China would be right there to help California, man. And now we got China right here on our doorstep.
But look at, like, Texas has the 8th largest economy in the world. It can be its own country easily.
Right.
So, and maybe that's the best course, because you're not going to have the entitlement programs. We sit here and we talk about this, and we should be very upset. The Social Security is not going to be there. The Medicare, I mean, the chickens are coming home to roost. The United States, like I said, by 2026 is going to be nearly 100% debt monetization. What that means is the currency that they're creating, when they do that, they have to issue bonds. Well, they don't have any buyers for the bonds. So they're buying their own bonds. That's what debt monetization is. There's no buyers of this debt in the world, and they're always used to.
But I really think the fragmentation of this country is going to bring some very bad actors with military bases way closer than any of us are going to want.
What are you saying? Invasion on the U.S. soil?
No, I'm saying they'll be invited if we break up into red states and blue states.
Yeah. China, like, we need your money and your help. And they're like, well, you got us? We got a lot of food. We got resources. We grow half the country's food. And like, China be like, all right, bet. We'll come in and bail you out. We want to own everything.
We'll still be giving them money because just like Cuba now, right? They're like, I don't know, China seems pretty cool. They don't want China. Nobody wants China. But they're a trump card for us to give them billions and billions and billions of dollars, even to countries that we're supposed to be embargoing. You know, now we're going to give you money so you don't bring China in.
Well, that is what I think is going to happen with the socialism, because the United States is going to be an isolationist type country where they manage basically from birth to, cradle to grave, as they say. And the reason I say that is there's still going to be some attraction stateside for the U.S. dollar. Internationally, it's going to go to near zero. But the United States will be able to trade amongst itself. For example, corn from Iowa would go down to Texas for oil. That's sort of arrangements. And that's how trade should be settled.
Yeah, it's old school.
Old school, but it needs to go back to that because things are so out of proportion in the stock market. I've talked about this, but it's so incredible. It's worth repeating. You have Tesla, a car company that doesn't even have very many cars on the road, and they're worth more per what they call the market cap, which is outstanding shares,
like Ford,
than all the other car companies combined. Okay? That's Ford, Chevrolet.
That's the futures.
Mercedes. Yeah, there's not that many Teslas out there. It's worth more than like the entire country of Switzerland. This is ridiculous. And it's just held up by paper assets, and they don't mean anything.
All are. Just like all social media. If anyone does their homework on Instagram or Facebook or YouTube, any of them, if you do a little bit of homework, you'll see that it's a Ponzi scheme. The whole thing's a scam. They never make money. They lose money. They take your $100 billion IPO, invest it into a bunch of companies that do make money, and then report a profit every quarter from Facebook or Instagram and say, see, we're making money. No, you just basically borrowed everybody's money to invest in something else and used the thing you borrowed against as a reason that it's a scam. Anyways, so many, just like Tesla, like you said, how can Tesla, who doesn't even make that many cars, can't even keep up charging stations, and be worth more than all the other car companies combined is insane. You know what I mean? Where you have 1,000 times more cars made and on the road every year. It makes no sense.
I was at a fundraiser for no, not a fundraiser. It was like an appreciation dinner for the president of Marion College. So there were a lot of donors there and stuff. And I was lucky enough to sit next to a guy. I don't want to name him, but he owns a big car sales company in Indiana. And they were actually donating like over $40 million that night. Yeah, okay, dude. So that's how this guy was, right?
I should have handed him my book.
Yeah, but I was asking him about the electric cars and stuff, which he drove. He admitted he drove one, but I was like, what do you think about the electric cars? He goes, I don't want to be told that I have to sell them, or what I can and can't sell. And then I was like, okay, so could you take your car and drive it to California? He's like, nah, couldn't, And I'm like, he's like, no, I found a charging station. And I'm like, okay, so when you pull in, is it like a gas station? 5 minutes later, you're up and running? He goes, no.
It's like a 3-hour charge.
Yeah, so we had the conversation where he admitted readily. And I said, now, your batteries are made by child labor in Africa where, like, they're lowering 4-year-olds down into mines and stuff and they're getting killed. He goes,
Cobalt.
Yeah, I know. So I was like, all right, so you know what you're getting into here, And he was readily like, he has to sit by me. He can't get away from me.
Yeah, not to mention the new battery for the car.
You're right.
The new battery for the car is freaking $35,000. So when that goes out,
the only way I could see it happening is if you had some really slick system where you pull into a gas station and they switch the battery.
Yeah,
that's one of the reasons I'm bullish on gold. I'm sorry, I am bullish on gold, but
on lithium
going down. On oil, there's just not enough vehicles out there that are charging using electric. We do have electric charging stations for Tesla in Mérida, Mexico. I saw one.
But how long does it take to charge your battery where you can take off again?
Well, I don't know. I don't have.
It ain't 5 minutes.
No, it's a scam. But what it may evolve into is the 15-minute cities. The 15. Yeah, those 15-minute cities. Maybe the Tesla will work in 15-minute cities, I guess.
Yeah, I think they got to come up with a way to swap those batteries really quick. Where you just get
so they don't have to charge for 5 hours or whatever it is.
Well, the other thing too,
and it's got to be able to come out and in. Plus, they're catching on fire and exploding. You're gonna have to deal with that.
Yeah, you're constantly having to stop at charging stations if you want.
They're blowing up. They're unstable. The batteries are not safe.
And the charging stations are being powered by diesel engines, generators. So using
and coal,
coal and diesel generators. This is your green answer, huh?
Yeah, there's not a Chinese solar power on top of that charging station.
Right. I mean, even that would be better if you had a Chinese solar panel up there.
The other thing, there's other car companies that are making electric vehicles. I mean, it's not just Tesla. Plus, some of the other companies are betting on some different energy types.
Look what Dan Moore's saying. New technology like that. Have wireless charging built into the highways. That would be dope. You know what I'm saying? Be like you're driving.
To me right now is the hybrid.
you'd be driving you know what that would be like driving when you were a kid, you had a little race cars that were on the track.
Car, like a slot car racing.
Yeah, so it'd be you down the highway, just like it could drive you and it charges along the way.
So the highway's like a big monorail now.
Yeah, just go to sleep. Like type in your address. And
some hippie will be walking across the street and. Bzz.
Yeah,
well, they are doing a high-speed train project here in the Yucatan, and we're excited about that. It'll be finished in a couple of years.
Oh yeah, I know. But Americans love their cars. They don't want to be in a car with somebody else.
I want to see a train doing like 160, you know, saying 190.
Yeah, but I know you, bro. You don't want to be sitting in a car with some guy in panties. You want to be in your own little vehicle. You're not going to ride that train. You were bitching about the people at your campsite, man. You're going to be in a boxcar with those same people.
I used to ride the subway all the time when I was in New York. I mean, I didn't like it.
I don't think you're cut for it anymore.
No, probably not. But I still would like to go. If a train does 190 miles an hour down some monorail or whatever, it'd be like getting to go on a roller coaster. Thank you, Jantzen. I'd be like on a freaking roller coaster every time you go to work or whatever. You got to go into town, you know, like 200 miles away, but at 190, I'm there for freaking 45 minutes. How is that for your math? 200 miles away. I say 190 miles away. It'll take me 45 minutes to get there, 200 miles an hour. I don't think my math is right, but whatever the case is, it would be fun. I'm just saying. So listen, I gotta go. I think I just want to snuggle my wife at this point, you guys. So just so you know, figure that out, man talk. But I hear the insects. Is that you in Yashkabal, or is that you, Bill? Because I know you live kind of south, and there's some big bugs down there by you too. I'm hearing some. It sounds like Missouri.
No, it's the bugs here in Yashkaba, the insects.
Yeah, what are they?
I'm not sure. I don't know that much about nature around here. I'm learning things every day. But we do have a lot of beautiful birds around here, and it's really nice here.
Are these seasonal birds? Do they fly north and south? Because a lot of birds migrate.
Yes, they are. We have quite a few parakeets and hummingbirds, doves, a lot of doves.
Yeah, those are migrators. The millions of them fly down to Mexico and then fly back. But I think the doves are more up here this time of year than down there. But I think they're both all the time anyways. A lot of people eat doves.
My wife said we have a lot of butterflies too, which
monarchs.
We do.
Yeah.
All sorts
of nature in the suburbs, man. The other day I saw a wolf in my backyard.
That's horrible.
This is pet. Pet wolf. He's got a pet wolf. True story. Guy's got a pet wolf. Don't tell the cops. And I don't think it's legal. I'm just saying.
But I got a lot of birds too. I got these huge arborvitaes, like big pine trees. There's got to be 100 birds in my backyard, dude. You wouldn't believe it.
What kind of birds?
I don't know. They're in the tree.
I'm a bird nerd, bro. I know all the sounds of every bird. I got these crows that I told you about. But I'm a bird nerd all my life because when I was a kid, my grandma used to buy me a magazine called Ranger Rick. And every month, and every month in Ranger Rick, there was a bird of the month. You remember? It was bird of the month. So that's how I learned all about my birds. And then I'd study them and I learned them, the calls. And I remember all my life I paid attention to birds closely. And the rarest bird that I've ever encountered is I think a Baltimore Oriole. I've seen a red Oriole. I've seen two or three of them.
We have Orioles all over here.
Not up here. Not up here.
Yeah.
No, there's yellow ones, and then there's like the orange ones. The orange ones are Baltimore Oriole ones. And
yeah, we have both here. I see them every day. We have parakeets and a lot of some wild turkeys too.
Yeah. I got wild turkeys too here. Same breed, believe it or not. The breeds that is down there were actually taken up here and released up here years ago, like 40 years ago, and now they're all over up here too. No, there won't be any parakeets or things like that up here because it's too cold. But with lots of birds. It's a cool. I get a whole migration of birds that either some that just come through, stop, you get here for a couple of days, and then they're up. They're going north. Some come up here and stay all summer and then fly south. And then in the winters, there's not much left. I put a little bird seed out there, but most of them fly south. It's rough. It's rough as hell up here in the winter, man. You got to be a hardy ass animal to survive up here, man. And cold and snow and it ain't easy. Anyways,
I'm like crib in the winter, man.
Yeah, here this is not the place to meet in the winter. I'm not looking forward to it, so I'm going to enjoy the summer while I can. Why? Because I'm free to do so. I am free, even though I'm not free completely in life. The cops can walk in here any minute and say I'm under arrest. I'm not free to say what I want on social media. If I say what I want on social media, be it Twitter, Facebook, or Instagram, I 100% guarantee you I won't have an account. They'll delete me instantly. Like, I can't even, and I'm pretty witty with my replies and my comments and things that I say to people. Like, I'm not, like, really crass, but I'm able to destroy people with words pretty easily because I'm a writer. It comes easy. But if I say how I say, even in a tactful way, they'll say, somebody will report me for being mean or just.
You haven't been banned, though, in, like, a while.
No, I haven't been suspended for a while. I mean, it's been 6 months at least.
And if you're feeling claustrophobic after all the limited freedoms, don't forget Jesus freed you from sin and death.
Exactly. And he freed you too, Dennis. So I hope you get to know him someday. I really do. Hope you get to know Jesus. He's a special dude.
We didn't cover that chapter in my book. What I said about Jesus and God really quickly is that if we all acted godlike and did what Jesus said when he was being crucified, we'd be better off.
Yeah.
And what he said, this is in that St. John, it's in my book, but he said, what I have said, and this is Jesus in the New Testament, what I have said is you all are gods. So that leads me to believe that we all have godlike potential that we can recognize. And that doesn't involve wars and taxes. And let's remember, Jesus is the kind of freedom fighter, didn't like paying taxes.
He didn't, but he did acknowledge, he said, give unto Caesar what is Caesar's and give unto God what is God's.
But he did also say to Peter, do you think the king's sons pay taxes? Okay. Because we have Donald Trumpster only paying $500 or $700. Well, poor people are paying a lot more than that, and that's ridiculous.
Right, but I'd say as long as he followed the legal tax code.
Yeah, exactly. We follow the rule, follow the law. It's the same thing everybody else would do in this situation. Use every loophole that he can to save as much money as he can.
As long as it was legal.
He's not going to just give you money, the government. They'll give money to give away, to throw out, to burn, passing some bills, give to the Ukraine. Hell no. I'm going to do everything I can to make sure you.
But if he cheated, then that's a different story.
Yeah,
we should talk about taxes on a different program.
Let's do that. We'll set up a date.
Because we could go on until like 11 on that one.
Yeah, Thank you for having me tonight, guys. I always enjoy talking with you.
Thanks for coming on.
Take care, be safe, and buy some gold.
Yes, we will. We'll plan for another one. Taxes. That's a great one. I could go off for a while on that. So.
And Dennis, we have been buying more and more gold and silver.
That's good. Yes.
Even since we last spoke.
Save up some currency because the gold price is going down.
Tell your wife I said good night.
Gold prices will go up, in my opinion, the first quarter. That's my hound dog.
Oh,
the first quarter of 2024 is when gold prices will start to rise. Until then,
all right. You heard it here first. Buy it up. Good night, you guys.
Write it down. Peace.
And Josh, what do you say? Enough time on here. My theory is how the U.S. faked the Titanic. Oh, here we go. Come on,
exactly. We're not giving it the airtime.
The truth. The truth is here. The first words out of his mouth: nude gangster.
He's a weirdo.
Anyways, I'm about to go snuggle my wife. You guys. If this show is supposed to be about freedom, we're Dennis on. He's a little bit of a downer, like a Debbie Downer, because it's like. Oh, he basically makes it sound like the world's going to be in by 2025, and I'm like, geez, dude, come on, man. Can I get a little more time? I just got out of prison 7 years ago. I'd like to live it up a little bit more, man, before the world ends.
Well, he does say, he goes, look, this isn't necessarily bad news. If you position yourself properly, you'll be at the top when this all collapses.
Yeah, right. And then all of a sudden, one day we're doing this show right here. 2 Mexicans bust into his house. One puts a hood over his head, a sack over his head, and a gun.
He actually named the city he's in. I didn't think he did that.
Yashkabal. I'm like, you got like that. What's the address to the Singapore bank that has all your gold? You better call them quickly. Nope. And until I get that bag of gold in hand, I'm going to take your teeth out of your mouth one at a time with a pair of pliers.
He's not hearing that.
No, he ain't hearing it. You don't get it.
He's like, I feel good. I'm like, yeah, I feel good right now. I don't feel good when there's a knock at the door.
Yeah, I mean, everything's good for right now. It always is good until it isn't. You know what I'm saying? You live in Mexico, you're a gringo with a freaking bragging about gold.
You know, he just looks like a mark. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You don't even have to be a boss cartel for that one. They're just like,
right, exactly. If you're a killer like a killer cartel dude, and you're just like, what'd that guy say? You know, he's got a bunch of gold. Let's find his address, bro. Yashkabal can't be that hard. You know, put, like I said, they'll walk in the middle of the show, put a burlap sack over them, and say, "Come on, pal." You know what I'm saying? How much gold you got? And no matter what he says, he's like, "Man, I only got 50,000." They're like, "Well, you better come up with 100,000, and you ain't going home, or half of you's going home in this bag. You know, the other half is going to be going over the cliff with the phone guys, with the telemarketers."
Did you see Dan? He said, "Good night, all. Dennis, you've been warned."
Right? Exactly. Dennis has been warned. Good night, Dan. Have a good one, buddy. Thank you for being here. Dennis is. We hope you live. I hope nothing ever happens to the guy ever, but
never. Hopefully, never.
I mean, I hope nothing ever does. God, I hope you're horrible, but if it does happen, you and I called it.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Well, I consider myself duty bound to keep telling you.
Right, to keep saying something. Exactly.
Just like you keep telling me about gold, I'll keep telling you about the cartel.
Yeah, the cartel killers coming for your ass. It's exactly. I mean, like, dude. I mean, I don't think he does enough homework on the cartels, bro. I feel like he's like out of mind, out of sight. He doesn't even I'm here in Yashkabal, which is 400 miles from the nearest major cartel hub. I'm good. But I don't know, man.
Right. I wouldn't. But it's just like what the mob. There's that one story where the guy told the mob to go F themselves, and he did fine. I mean, and those are great stories. But I could tell you 1,000.
Most of the time, don't work.
Told the mob to F themselves, and it didn't work out that good.
Yeah, most of the time, it don't work out.
There's the 1 in 1,000 that somehow he had.
Yeah, you walk away, you're all good. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. It's like me nowadays. If somebody walked up to me in front of me, just like when I was in prison, and told me to F off, or not that happened in prison, but in prison I thought this way. Like if somebody walks up there and says anything, really, as long as they don't threaten me, I would be like, you win. I mean, because I'm not going to freaking risk staying in prison the rest of my 50 years. You know what I mean? For beating your ass, so you can say whatever you want. It's the same thing in the street. If somebody walked up to me now and was like, I don't know. I feel like the problem is I don't think I would be able to hold myself, reserve myself as much as I did in prison. Because you forget how bad prison sucks, you know what I'm saying? I've been out of it for 7 years. And if I just grab somebody by the throat, start mollywopping them, and then I'm like, damn it, I just caught a freaking assault case. I got to go back for 18 months or something. That would suck, and then you'd be in prison going, why did I do that? So the smart me is just like, whatever, dude. I'm going fishing. Do whatever you want. But if they threaten me, or I feel threatened, or my wife or someone, then of course I would react in a way that would be very bad for the other person. Yeah, diplomatically, I said that. Didn't even threaten nobody. So, hey Sandra, how you doing? Xtraordination. Praying for you, Sandra. Oh, hey, how'd you do that?
I don't know. I could never do it before. Now all of a sudden I can do it.
Kicking my butt. Oh man, what were you doing in the hospital? Let's sleep.
She said asthma.
Oh, well, I feel better. That sucks. Sorry to hear that. Patrick Cassidy.
Across the street from me when I was a kid died of asthma.
It happens, man. Patrick Cassidy here.
Man. Like, you think I would have 10 of those breather things, those spray things?
Yeah, you think. Dude, my good friend died of just a few years ago. A really good friend of mine, Dennis Garcia, Mexican dude, like legit Mexican. I think he was born in Mexico. But he's a good friend, man, a good dude. You would have loved him. He would have loved you. He's a huge fan of my books. He read them both like 5 times. Not joking. He taught himself.
The one that spoke Sicilian?
Yeah, he spoke Sicilian. He taught himself to speak Sicilian after reading my books. He enjoyed them so much. But anyways, he didn't take his insulin, and he freaking died. Yep. You know what I'm saying? It's kind of sad.
That's a diabetes thing, then.
Yeah, but it's something as simple as not taking your insulin. Freaking.
Yeah, my buddy died from I would say he didn't take his insulin, but he used insulin like a drug instead of like changing his diet and being healthy. Like when he came to my house, he packed my fridge full of like so much shit. I'm like, what is this? He's like, that's my insulin, my meds. I was like, gee, man, Christ, dude, what the hell? It's like you took up my whole beer fridge full of your medicine. And
I need room.
Margie's like, that's not how it works, dude. You can't do this. You'll stroke out and die. And a week after he visited, he died. He had a diabetic coma, and he had talked to me that day. He goes, hey, I'm walking into a bar, dude. I'll talk to you later. And I guess he went home from the bar. He had a diabetic incident, passed out, and he happened to land on a bench. And so while he was passed out,
cut off his blood.
It choked him to death. Yeah.
Oh my God, dude.
Awful, dude. And he was a big, bad dude, man. He was awesome. We called him Big Tom. He was a monster, but it was a shame, man. He had a hard life, man, and it didn't end well.
It didn't end well. Oh, that sucked.
I think he did like 3 years for manslaughter or something back in the day.
Yeah, sounds like one of your good friends. Like he
was, man. I love this guy. He's one of the few times, like Regina always calls me out on it because I always say I don't cry. She goes, "You cried when Uncle Tom died," and I'm like, "Yeah, I did. I cried when I."
So that was recently.
It was within the last 5 or 6 years.
Well, yeah, it was like no, because
we were in this house.
Yeah, I know, but I remember it was.
So it had to be within 7 years.
Because I remember you were sitting here at this like desk area.
Yeah.
When
it's funny though. Him and Joshua were like butted heads the whole time. Like when he came and met Joshua, for some reason, him and Joshua were just like bam, bam, bam.
Huh.
And I told Joshua he died. Oh, they used to fight about the Vikings or something. I don't know, the football. They get in serious fights. And they bet money, and then they didn't want to pay each other the money. And he's like, your kid's a freak. And he's like, he's a cheater. He's a scammer. And I swear to God, I told him, I said, hey, Big Tom died, man. And he goes, well, at least that fat ass finally shut the hell up. And I was like, for real, bro? That's what you say? So then when I told Regina, she started crying, and I was like, thank you. So me and her had a little cry together.
That sucks, but damn, that's funny,
Everybody
Josh.
else I told, they're like, can't say I'm surprised. I'm like,
Josh, it's finally that fat mother effer. Shut up. That's horrible. That's horrible.
What?
That's what you said when I told you.
No, what?
Yeah, you did.
That fat mother.
You said he finally shut up. That's what you said, you dick.
All right.
I did not say that.
You did say that.
I did not say that immediately. I said
that was the first thing you said.
No, it wasn't.
Yeah, it was. Trust me. Ask your sister.
It's funny.
Yeah, you are.
It's funny that he don't remember. I believe
he was a little kid. He was probably like 11 or 12.
I mean, yeah, he wouldn't.
I remember being upset about it.
You were not.
I remember being upset.
You were happy.
No, I wasn't.
He was dismissive. That's what he was.
Yeah.
It was also like I don't know, Gunner, like the first time.
No, you're probably still brooding over that $10 he thought he owed you.
Right. Exactly. guy never paid me that chick $10. You bet on the Vikings game.
That was his attitude.
It was like, I don't know. It was like the first person that I was close to that died. I was like, so now what? Like,
was Randy Moss on those Vikings? Or no, that's way too far. Like you weren't even born when Randy Moss was in the game, probably, huh?
Yeah, he knew Randy Moss.
Yeah, I watched him.
Yeah, he was watching back then.
Well, how long did Randy Moss play for?
He would have probably been on the Patriots when Joshua caught up with him. Yeah.
I mean, no, I saw him in the last year or two on the Vikings and then the Patriots, but.
Yeah, he's watching football since he's like 2 or 3.
Randy Moss hasn't played in probably 10 years, has he?
No. Joshua is 17.
Yeah, so it'd be 7. He
16.
I'm just saying, if he was 7, if Randy Moss was playing, was he watching football when he was 7?
Oh, he's watching football when he was 2.
I'm sure I was the same way. I get it. Especially if you like football, you'll remember.
You know, it's funny. I never let him watch the Patriots. I kept it from him, right? Like I never let him see Tom Brady.
Why?
Because Peyton Manning was the greatest quarterback that ever
lived. Come on, that bullshit.
I came home from work on a Saturday and he was watching football. He goes,
"What is this?"
He goes, "You see this guy Brady for the Patriots?" I was like, "What?" He goes,
"Never heard of him."
He goes, "Dude, he's better than Peyton Manning." I'm like, "No, he's evil."
Here's the thing. I never saw Randy Moss on the Patriots, but I saw him on the Vikings because he went back to the Vikings after he went to the Patriots. And then I saw him on the Titans, and then I saw him on the 49ers.
Well, God bless you.
I was like, I don't remember the Patriots, but I remember the Vikings, which I found weird.
Moss was almost cheating, man, because you could just roll it up. And there's no way he's not
in his prime, he certainly was. You know, just like Megatron.
So fast.
What was the name of the guy Megatron they called? It was a Lions receiver.
Calvin Johnson,
Calvin Johnson. He was a guy that just was super hyped up, and he was bigger than everybody. And for 5 years, you thought he put like one really good year, and then for the next 5-6 years, you decided he's going to have some huge breakout year.
Didn't he rope them in the playoffs too? Like he caught it, brought it in, took both feet down, and they said he didn't finish the process because he
yeah. That happened a couple times.
Like a playoff.
Yeah, cost a playoff exactly, and it was obvious.
Oh, it was ridiculous.
He told me
that was as close as they came to a Super Bowl caliber team. But they also had, who is that freaking guy? He played for Miami later on. He was a dirty Dominican Sue. He cost him a lot too because he would do some stupid stomp somebody's head. Get a ridiculous penalty.
Dominican Sue was a freaking idiot.
Yeah, he was an idiot.
But he's a Hall of Famer.
A Hall of Fame idiot.
Yeah, he's still a Hall of Fame idiot. That doesn't care.
Well, I think he did better when he moved on. But yeah, Detroit, I felt like we were so close. And I was like, you know what? Get rid of Schwartz and get a world-class coach in there, and you got a Super Bowl. They bring in that freaking guy from Indianapolis that was like 0-15.
What's wrong is management. Management's wrong. It has to start at management. The owner he hires. I think he makes decisions not based on.
That's what they brought.
Yeah. Anyways, they suck. Forget the line. Never going to win nothing. Whatever you do, if you want to sure win in life, bet against the Lions. Bet they're going to lose. You'll win every time.
But we got a pact. If we're ever like gazillionaires, we're going to buy the Lions.
We're going to buy them and make them win. Right. Exactly. I'll tell you one thing. The year that they lost all 13 games, or what is it, 16 games? How many games? Wait a minute. What in the season, it's 16 games, right?
What?
17 now, right?
Is there 17 or 16 games?
That's 17 now, but it used to be 16. Back when it was 16, I said, this is the year the Lions, they had this massive draft. They did everything was right. All the talent in the world. Everything, the defense looked good, everything. I'm like, this is the year they win the freaking Super Bowl. I'm looking at this talent. I'm betting. I'm ready to bet. Anybody want to bet? I'm in prison. And they're like, yeah, let's bet. They lost every single game that year. Every game. First team to ever lose every game ever. Every game. I'm like, I give up.
It's heartbreaking to be a Colt now, man. But there was a time when we made the playoffs. It was a given, you know, like almost like the regional championship was a given. We had flags all over the place.
You talk about the Peyton Manning days?
I'm talking about not just Peyton Manning, but Bill Polian. Once we got rid of him, everything went downhill.
Well, you had Peyton Manning though, so
we did have Peyton Manning, yeah.
Even through Andrew Luck.
But I still think the whole Polian management and coaching staff and stuff, they had good recruiting. They knew where they wanted to go. And as soon as he retired, and they just turned it upside down. And I had friends on that coaching staff, and once they got rid of those guys, it's been a joke ever since.
Really? Yeah.
I lost my heart for the Colts. I really have.
Listen, I'm gonna go. I know my poor wife is waiting.
Yeah, no, I gotta go too. I gotta go to bed.
Have a good night. Sleep well. Call me if you need me. I'll see you Friday if I don't hear from you. Josh, be good. Keep up your grades. Keep being a good kid. Otherwise, and get up here. My wife keeps saying, when are they coming up here? Get up here, you guys. Drive up here. Spend the weekend.
I got to map it out because we literally do something every weekend there.
Map it out. Make it happen. Make doing that one of the things that you do every week.
Last week of July.
Yeah.
That's the week.
There's a July 29th or something going on that weekend.
All right. I'm here. Let me know. Josh, figure it out. I'm leaving it in your shoes. Bust your dad's balls. Make sure it happens.
Oh, believe me, that will be no problem.
All right. Let me know. God bless. Good night, you guys.
See you. Peace.
All right, bye. Why can't I guess, am I still here? Duh. I guess. Why is it now frozen up? Oh, I think I got it's frozen on me.